It's Friday, May 8th, 2026. All right, let's start off by reminding you, if you'd like to support the show, you can go to supportourshow.com. Speaking of which, let's get into what is sure to be a lengthy segment of me cursing and ranting as I start off by giving you a bit of a foreshadow of what we're about to get into.
This is some fucked up, repugnant shit.
Indeed it is, Samuel L., because anyone who is a Patreon subscriber has no doubt seen a post that I put on there about the fact that I stripped all of our movie commentaries and all of our Friday shows and anything that might contain any bit of information or visual or audio medium that might be considered 18 or over, because Patreon has made an update to their policies that I found by accident. I was trying to upload the last commentary that we did, and probably the last commentary we're doing, and I was running into an upload error, and I had seen something about the fact that there is actually a limit in Patreon on how much you can upload, but I didn't know what it was, so I was looking around to see what that number was. As it turns out, we were nowhere near that number. That's not what it was. I don't know what it was. I guess it was the cyber gods reaching out and being like, hey, you're going to be pissed in 5 minutes, so we're just going to go ahead and nudge you this way. Because I thought maybe we would hit that because we've uploaded a lot of stuff. But in fact, no, you get 100 hours per month. And while we do have a lot of commentaries, nothing has exceeded 100 hours per month. Even the podcast doesn't exceed that. So it wasn't that. And so I was looking around trying to figure out what else there could be. And I happened to see, when I was digging around the settings to make sure nothing had been updated or whatever, that there was a thing that said designate as adult or over 18. Whatever. I don't remember what the terminology was. And I went, wait a minute. What is this? And so then I thought, well, you know, we do have stuff on there that would be designated as adult. Maybe I need to do this. And I toggled the button, trying to be responsible. At which point, a thing came up and said, oh, great. We're just going to need your government ID and like a second form of identification. And I went, huh? So then I went to look and see when this happened, and noticed that there had been a policy update that Patreon very quietly buried underneath, I believe the same day they sent out this communication from the CEO saying how the internet was getting scary and he was making sure Patreon was a safe place for creators, which I'm like, oh, cloud cover. Nicely done. You scum fucking fuck piss piece of shit, right? So I look and this thing's been updated and it's like, oh yeah, to comply, this is the same boilerplate everybody's using, to comply with children's safety, international guidelines, blah, 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 blah. If you're going to put content on here that is of adult nature, you're going to have to verify, and everybody's going to have to verify, and government ID and all this shit using a company that contracts with the U.S. government and has already leaked information, at which point I said,
well, I'm a mushroom cloud laying motherfucker.
And I tore all our shit off because I'm like, fuck that. I am not going to be party to making people risk their identities for no good reason. And I want to be very, very clear about this particular aspect of this. Because I know there are going to be people who think, well, isn't that reasonable to make sure that kids can't hear your show? No, it's not reasonable. It's not. Well, forget whether it is or not. It's not because it's not necessary to have somebody upload their government ID to make that happen. All you need to do, wait, I'm not done. All you need to do is do what Sideshow does. Now, this is where I'm going to bring you into it, because I know that you know this. If you go to Sideshow Collectibles and there is a statue that is at all of an adult nature, even if it's not showing anything.
Yeah.
And you click on it, there's a box that comes up.
Yeah.
And that box says, you need to certify you're over 18. Yes or no. You check yes, and you see it. That's what's required. Go on.
Okay, so I do agree with you. When Joe told me about this, I said, I agree with your logic. Right? Because I understand the concept of what they are after. They're saying, hey, we want to make things safer for kids. But here's the thing, right? Right now, and my kids haven't figured this one out yet, or maybe they have, I don't know. If you go to Google and you use the right keywords and your safe search is off, you don't need to go to any web porn site to get lots of nude images. Right? I mean, like, it's that easy. In fact, you can get, like, pornographic GIFs of just about anything you want just using the Google image search, right? So we're already kind of there. So you're saying, okay, Patreon's become a cesspool of vile a vile cesspool of villainy, whatever.
Scumfuckers.
Scumfuckers, yeah. If you're going to then try and do this age restriction, now here's the thing: Sideshow's age restriction thing that's there basically for them to be able to say, hey, we asked them if they were 18, and they said yes. They gave us a date. What more do you want us to do? Whereas, for whatever reason, Patreon is saying, hey, we want your government ID so that you can't lie to us. So in the same sense that if I'm going to buy alcohol, right, I have to show them an ID. That's where Patreon is putting themselves. But I mean, it's kind of a hard turn. I mean, Patreon is kind of been this, like, it's kind of like the soft OnlyFans, right? And to suddenly require you to send them your, I mean, fucking hell, does OnlyFans require that level of ID, that you have to send them ID information?
I don't know what the status. I've never actually opened an OnlyFans account, so I really don't know what their requirement is. Yeah, so the root of this, as far as I understand it in Patreon's case, and in most of these cases, is actually because of Visa and MasterCard. They're the ones driving this. They're making these requirements. But even so it's not necessary.
So how does that tie into them? What is the requirement?
Well, because Patreon has a payment system that is backed, that you can use Visa or MasterCard with. And Visa and MasterCard are now trying to make everybody use these age verification systems because
because it's a payment system, they then have to do that.
Correct.
Oh, so basically
that's what they're saying, but that's nonsense, because you legally can't get a credit card if you're under the age of consent in any state within the United States. Now, I don't know about outside the U.S. I can't speak to other countries.
Yeah, essentially, so Pornhub is mostly not going to give a shit, is what you're saying.
Well, everybody's going to have to eventually that uses these payment systems. It will be everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Unless people say, well, then we're not using it, and they just refuse to use it. In which case, if there's enough of a drop in revenue and a negative response, like everything else,
it's so annoying too, because like not 2 weeks ago, I deleted my original stockpile of pornography that I've kept since college from like the heady days of downloading. I just got rid of it the other day thinking, I probably won't need this. And now this. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. But as I said, this is absolutely not the only way to do it.
No, it isn't the only way to do it. But I also agree. I agree with your unhappiness, because they want all this information. But to some degree, they want the information just so they can have the information. I mean, we live in this
the other
information
end of it.
age where they want it all.
Well, there is that. But there's a secondary layer, and this is the real problem. They, meaning Patreon, accept no responsibility if your information leaks. They take no accountability. they will tell you that that's on the part of the third party that they're using to authenticate things. And that's the real kind of nail in the coffin for me. Because if Patreon said, we will be responsible if anything happens, we are accountable. If something happens, you sue us, and we will go to, we'll do what we have to do. Then at least I would say, okay, it's a one-stop shop. You're giving your information to this person, this company. They are responsible. If something happens, you get money from them because they didn't do their job right. They're not. None of these places are.
No.
And that's really what is the thing that pushes it into fuck you up your ass with a chainsaw territory.
And the other company, the third-party company, is making its own money utilizing your information.
Absolutely.
This is all just more data tracking. And they're making, honestly, what's funny is they're making money from both ends. They're going, hey, you got to pay us to make sure that you're age appropriate. But by the way, we're going to sell that information and make even more money. So we make money twice on this. I mean, it's shitty. And I said to Joe when he told me about this that I really wish there was some other way we could handle this. Like there's some other way we could do this. As of yet, we haven't found one. But I also wanted to bring this to our listeners to say, hey, can any of you think of a better way to do this? Is there some other way?
And here's the one caveat to this, because there are other ways, but none of them are free. And I'm sorry, everybody, I'm not going to pay for anything else. I'm just not.
Well, I mean, we're not a for-profit show.
That's what I'm saying.
If
we were making money,
just treading water show.
If we were like Red Letter Media, where we're making a bunch of money, then I'd say I'll figure it out, and don't you worry about it. We'll retool this, and we'll but we're not. That's just the reality of it, and that's all it is. So it sucks because Patreon seemed to be the last place you could do this stuff, but like everything. And look, here's the other thing too. If this comes to Libsyn, then we're all done. That's it. Show's over. They do that shit. I'm ending it. I'm not being party to any of this shit.
You know what? Hold on. There's a simple solution though. If and I will say this. If this comes to Libsyn, right? I
probably will
try really hard not to curse anymore.
No.
Okay.
Because this is the problem. It's not cursing. Now you actually do have to do what people mistakenly call self-censorship. Now you have to say, oh, well, we can't ever say anything that could be interpreted as adult themes, because that could change.
But they're gonna
next week.
So they're gonna. Oh, is this whole thing where they're gonna be using some kind of system to scan all the content?
Of course they are. This is what's going. This is where it's going. It's going to be.
They're gonna ruin the internet, is what you're saying.
Of course.
Wow.
Yes.
What a bold move. We want to make money, so we're gonna ruin it. Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what they'll end up doing. And to a degree, it is understandable. A degree that lips. God.
Can I describe something to you that you might find interesting?
Of course.
So
go for it.
Today, I had to have a conversation with my son about the nature of the internet. My son has only recently been given kind of like, we're gonna call it like moderate access to like his phone. Like we had a lot of stuff shut down for years, so like like social media is still not a thing, but like only in the last probably like 6 months has he really had like unfettered access to essentially an internet browser, right? He could browse stuff in school on their computers, but that's very controlled, right? But it's been very limited for him. And we still have time locks and everything, so like everything shuts down at a certain time. Everyone's devices live downstairs after a certain time of night. My wife and I have joked around about shutting off the internet altogether. But he's had a little more time to use browsers. And the thing is, my son is like a real thing for Transformers. Loves Transformers. And of late, he's started to go looking for kind of like third-party Transformers. And what it is he sees he does these image searches, right? and he sees really cool shit. And then he's like, man, I want that. And then he goes looking to find out. And then he comes to me and he's like, hey, can we get this? It's like, I want to get this. Like, he's got a birthday coming up. He's like, I want to get this. And he had all this stuff he wanted to check out. He came to me, and then I'm like, where did you find it? He's like, well, I found it on Google image search. And I'm like, okay. It's like, number one, that's not actually finding anything. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, well, and the thing is, it's just earlier today, my wife and I have been having this big conversation about, like, the nature of AI photos and, like, how, like, you really can't trust anything you see anymore. And I said to my son, I was like, listen, man, if you don't see something, like, literally see it in front of you, you can't really be sure it exists anymore. That's the world that we live in. Any image, any photo that you see has to be questioned now because the nature of the technology that we have. I said, so any toy, this is a 14-year-old kid. I was like, any toy that you see online might not exist. I was like, and then I had to be like, we got to look at the websites that might have something like this because not every website is dependable. And I had to explain to him what scam sites were, right? Then I had to explain to him what, international stores meant. I was like, you got these stores and they're all over they're not in this country. I was like, which then got into a whole conversation about tariffs and shipping charges and, getting through, not immigration, what do you call it? Customs, getting through customs and how, just because you buy something on like let's say you buy something from like a Hong Kong store, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get to you because, it's got to get through customs and things do sometimes disappear. I've had things disappear in customs many, 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 many moons ago when I used to do a lot of eBay buying and selling.
eBay.
eBay.
Yes.
I lost stuff. Was it Italy Argentina, I think, and Brazil. Those are the three countries you never shipped to because their their customs was so bad, shit would just disappear all the time. And yeah, so I was trying to explain this to my son, and he's like, "Well, how do you know?" He's like, "Well, then how do you know how to get anything?" And I'm like, "Trial and error, man." I was like, I grew up with this stuff. I watched it happening. So, like, I have kind of a radar for this stuff. I can tell you what sites are safe, what sites aren't safe. And I was like, and you might not like it. I was like, but there is this kind of hierarchy to, like, what is considered to be a generally more safe site than other, or a site that actually cares about people. And, like, he's looking at a lot of stuff in Etsy, and I'm like, Etsy is hit or miss. I was like, I've had Etsy go to bat for me when something has gone wrong, and I've had Etsy wipe its hands and go, fuck, not my problem, right? Whereas, like, eBay tends to be a little bit, like, almost, I don't know how they are now, because I really had a lot of business with them, but they were always very customer, kind of, like, they always lean towards the customer over the seller, I found. And, Amazon, there is a psychotic nature to Amazon sometimes, where, like, if something goes wrong with a third-party seller, they'll be like, take that object and throw it in the garbage. Don't send it back to them. And you're like, oh, okay. Am I getting my money back? Yes, you're getting your money back, but set that object on fire. Take a picture of it on fire. We want to see it on fire. Like, that's the absurdity of it, But trying to explain to my son the scale of it, the whole, yeah, man, it's like, there are bad neighborhoods in the internet. There are things that aren't real. There's places you shouldn't go. There's all this stuff. And he's kind of like, whoa. He's like, but it's the internet. I'm like, yeah, it's the internet. I was like, and it's full of lies, man. I said, it's one of the most powerful tools that humanity has. And we have found a way to just destroy ourselves with it. And, like, he was really bummed. And I was like, and I feel bad because I'm the messenger, right? I'm the bad guy because I'm the one that has to be like, no, this isn't what you think it is. But I'm like, hey, I was like, rather than focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. And I was like, there are sites that are dependable. There are sites that you can trust. There are places you can go that have all the things that you want to get. You just can't automatically trust. And I said, I was like, this is a thing that everybody deals with. It's like Alibaba. Remember the Alibaba site? Like, I never trusted the Alibaba.
Oh, of course. Sure,
like,
sure.
What's the other one, too? There's another one that's like that. There's Alibaba, and then there's...
Oh, Temu.
Is it Temu? Yeah.
And Wish.com and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, stuff like that. And I said, you know what? And he was getting really upset because there were these super awesome fucking Transformers that he wanted from China. And I was talking about how I try to, whenever I'm trying to explain something to my son, I try to like ground it in like something with me. So like I try to say, listen, I have gone through this with you before, and for me, it's the Sanity statue that XM did of Batman, which is a massive statue. There's a color version and a smoke version, and the color version, or the smoke version, is Batman. He's surrounded by just like all the main villains that he's ever had. It's a massive statue. It's amazing. Love it. XM is a Malaysian company. They don't really have like an American store. So whoever you may or may not find it through is already like a secondhand thing, which I haven't really found anybody in the US who carries XM stock, to be honest with you. Right? And all the stuff that you find on some like eBay where you can import it, I mean, you're paying thousands of dollars for this statue because it's huge. And then you're going to pay hundreds of dollars to ship it. I was like, and then you have to hope it gets through customs, and there's tariffs now. I was like, and then maybe it'll show up in one piece. And I was like, you know what? I just, as an adult, can't warrant that. I cannot warrant that cost, that chance. I can't do any of that. I was like, that sucks for me. And I just have to accept it. That's what it is. I was like, and that's something that we all do on a regular basis. Anybody who uses the internet on a regular basis gets burned enough that they start to figure out where not to lose their money. Because, I mean, none of us are rolling in it, so you don't want to just throw your money away. I mean, you're not going to order something if there's a... actually, here's a good question. What is the percentage of chance that you could lose your money on an object that you would still buy it if it was like something you really wanted? Like how much of a chance would you take, and what is the numerical value that your cutoff?
Oh, I wouldn't risk losing more than $200.
Wow,
I'm not even sure I'd go that far.
Man, you're way above me.
I mean,
but what's the, hold on,
when
but what's
you
the
say
percentage
something
of chance?
you really wanted.
No, but hold on. What's the percentage of chance?
I'd say 50-50 on that.
So
I'd
you
do
would
50-50.
So you'd go 200 on a 50-50.
Yes.
Okay. I won't go above
anything
40
above that, then the percentage goes down.
I won't go above 40 on a 50-50.
Okay. Yeah,
but
no,
I've been burned. Remember, actually, you know what?
Remember we were talking about if there was a perfect Beta Ray Bill statue, let's say they made 100 and there was one left.
Yeah.
And it was somebody that
you thought you had a chance to get it.
Yes.
You'd go 50-50
you said something you really want. I'd go 50. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to plunk down $200 on the off
and that's the other
folks.
part. That's the aspect of this that is not necessarily something you can put a number on, which is how badly you want something, and the collector nature of things. And I was talking to my son about that too, because that's something he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the nature that there are people out there buying Transformers and never taking them out of the box, right? I was like, no, man. I was like, because he is still a kid. He still plays with his shit. He still has these elaborate stories in his head. Like, he doesn't understand buying something, keeping it in a box forever. That's like, it's like a sin for him. And honestly, I get it, because when I was a kid, if somebody told that to me too, I'd have been like, fuck that. What?
I don't know. I'm like that now. I was just talking with somebody about this, and I said, I almost never leave anything in a box. I mean, I don't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also don't acquire things to not see them the way they're meant to be seen. And that's not in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not buying things so that 10 years from now I can resell it for a profit. Now, maybe if I was, I'd be richer, but I'm not that person.
But if that's your business, that's one thing, right? But it really fucks with it. The collector nature fucks with everything. That's why you can't just sometimes you just can't just buy a pair of Nikes. I mean, if you like a certain pair of Nikes and they're ultra limited, then you may have to kill someone to get them at this point.
Yeah.
Sure. And trying to explain this to somebody really makes you realize the level of kind of despairing absurdity. Where it's like, well, why are things like that? Well, because people like to cheat other people out of money. And he was like, is that legal? I'm like, it's not legal, dude. I was like, but it happens. It happens enough,
Well, look, if there is no penalty, it is legal.
Well, and the thing is, there's so many levels to this. So,
and you could say, well, there are penalties, yes, but if nobody ever gets penalized, then there is no penalty, therefore it's not illegal.
So talking about, us losing Patreon and us potentially losing, the ability to not have to give companies our fucking ID, right? It's annoying because we are seeing yet another kind of despairing absurdity occur. And the thing is, how far, we always come back to this, how far do you push people before they're like, now fuck your shit? And it's the whole, how much of a pain in the ass do things have to become before people go, you know what? I'm just not going to use it. Because the thing is, you and I are both the type of people where, like, we look at something and we see it like what it could involve, what it will and can evolve into, and you go, you know what? I think I better check out of this now. Whereas there are people.
This is another reason. What you're saying now is another reason. I'm telling you, if this comes to Libsyn, it's all over for this, because I'm not going to be party to it. And I'm going to tell you right now, everybody listening, however many people that is, we are never going to make you put a credit card in for something or whatever, a government ID. Because if nothing else, certainly the last year or so has proven that even if I thought...
Can we do an email list?
Files
are too big.
Here's the reality.
Yeah.
Here's the reality of it. And even this has its limitations.
Okay.
The only way around this, truly, and I think this is what's eventually going to happen, short of let's back up a minute. So part of the problem here is that within the United States, again, I can't speak to what's going on outside the country. We have enough problems here that I'm trying to not have my brain melt out of my ears with. There is an arc towards, let's just have white people that we think were born here to stay here. That's what's happening. So, even if that wasn't happening, I would be wary of this. But certainly, when we're seeing lots of people's rights being legally stripped out, things that people thought would never happen, happening, even more reason I will not be any part of somebody taking a risk, because nothing we contribute to the world is worth it. Sorry, it's not. It's not worth you getting taken away. And this may sound like, no, they're not going to come take you away because you put a government... The fuck they won't. It's not worth you...
It depends on how bad it's allowed to get, yes. Because things like this have happened before.
I haven't seen many barriers to what's going on that seem to be effective in this particular time. And I don't know how long some of this stuff will take to reverse.
Yeah. Because
there are things and people in place that can't just be removed. You don't just reverse these things if an election changes. Not easily.
I mean, honestly, if tomorrow suddenly things switch back the other way, the other problem too, and this is a minor political thing to talk about at this point, because I don't know if it's going to happen, but there are people, we'll call them democratic people, who, once realizing they have tools that a Republican has put in place, may not want to get rid of them because it makes things more easy and more profitable for them to do.
Of course, yes.
So
it's that's what I'm saying.
A government,
even
a
if
government doesn't like to give power back.
Changes.
Yeah.
Right. So, the only way, should age verification come to everything, and if it really does come to everything, and this was a point I made, I did a 2 or 3 weeks ago talking about the myth of decentralization, which is a myth. Unless you run your own ISP with your own server and all your own content you host and provide, which you can do, but you're going to have some money and some lawyers, which we have.
None, yeah. How small can our shows be zipped?
Well, when they're 3 hours long.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where it starts to eat away at whatever it is people like about our show, whatever that is, and it has to just be us. If we start saying the same way I said, maybe we're gonna have to cut down the time, and you were like, no, let's just pay more and we'll keep the time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you won't swear? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, we can't make jokes about bestiality. No, that's adult. We can't say that anymore.
Let's be very clear. If I stop cursing, it would be so that you and I can keep on doing this. So Joe and I had this funny thing happen the other day.
But we couldn't. You understand? We couldn't. That's part of it.
I know, and you are correct. But what I'm saying to you is the other day, we didn't record the commentary for the last movie that we watched this week because there was no point. We weren't, the commentaries were over. And Joe said when the movie started, he was like, well, now that we're not doing a commentary, we can kind of just, we can just sit and kind of enjoy the movie. We're not going to talk that much. And what occurred was within like 5 minutes, we were just doing what we always do.
Yeah.
Nothing was recording. We were just talking shit because that's what we do together. And I said to him, I was like, it's funny because we can't help but do it. It's just the way we are together. Like we just start riffing. You know what I mean?
No, but it would just we would not be recording it anymore. We would just be playing Divinity and doing the show that way, and just no one would ever hear it.
Yeah, I know.
That's it.
I know.
And if that's
what I'm saying, what I'm saying to you is like, would there be some way to zip files and then email them to like a listener list or something like that, or is it just too big?
Well, they would have to be hosted somewhere, right? And any place you're going to host these things.
Well, Libsyn's is hosting right now.
Right,
so if Libsyn
but that's what I'm saying is
you'd basically be trading one host for another, wouldn't you?
Well, basically, it would be the way I did it originally. The way I did it originally is I paid a web host, and I did the RSS manually, and I hosted the files.
Okay.
But I had to rotate them out, so you couldn't have them all the time because you run out of storage. Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's just that the entire way this thing works disappears.
Yeah.
And then you still have to be concerned that I would have to figure out, because look, to an extent, like you said, I would need to have something certifying that somebody said they're 18, because otherwise I can get sued.
That's true.
So there's that part too.
If they're getting this crazy about it.
Yeah. And again, to be objective about it, I don't want some kid hearing us if their parents don't know. That's that we are listed as explicit. Like when I do these right now, I'm looking at the screen where I do all the notes, and on the rating for this show, as it is every Friday show, whether I think it is or not, it's always explicit, and that's the cover in this system, right? So that covers us. That if some kid grabs the RSS feed, which has no barrier, and downloads it, all I have to say is, hey, it's marked explicit. So there's no hiding what this is. That explicit tag is there. The fives are all clean. That's why they're still all on Patreon, because I don't swear in those. And those are, there's nothing in there that anybody could actually go to court and win on. I already know that because I have those engineered a certain way, meaning how I talk and what I cover. And I even try to avoid even saying like hell on those, because somebody might be listening at work and, I don't know if somebody's not working in a monastery. What do I know? So those are everything is very delineated that way. But if it's on my own hosted thing, well, now I could still mark it as explicit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that gives me legal cover when I am now the host of the material. So whereas in Libsyn, as long as the episodes are correctly rated, that's what they require. Is I can't pretend it's clean if it's not, which I don't. So I follow those rules and that's it. It's fine. But if that changes...
Essentially, the show is under threat by the turning...
I would say every person who is a content creator is going to have to make decisions at some point. Everyone. All of them. That's just the reality. If all this stuff keeps progressing the way it's going, then all content creators, which is a term I hate, but it's the reality, anybody who makes something that isn't guaranteed safe for children, if you write children's books... you have nothing to worry about. You're fine. That's why the fives can keep going, because the fives are airtight. I know the fives. I don't have to worry about any of them. They're good. Solid. So I can keep doing the fives. But the Friday show, gone. Gone. Everything else, gone. And my painting videos, because I don't swear. Because, I make those so that anybody can watch them. So it would reduce down to fives and my painting videos. And that's it. And anything that YouTube would allow, because YouTube, to get around the ads, you do have to verify through YouTube, but that's so established nobody cares. And they don't require a government ID. I don't know what they're doing, but I've never had to upload an ID. I think in my case, because they have my credit card, because I buy things off the Play Store and everything, they verify it that way. The same way I think Apple does it. This is what I mean about not everybody does this, because it's not necessary. And the fact that there is so little accountability hey, we will make 1,000 shows. And that was always kind of my end goal anyways. 1,000 shows, anything after that is gravy. Because I never thought we'd get that far. After that, if it vanishes, guys, it's gone. What are you going to do? That's the world. If you don't like that, speak up. I sent a very long form letter to Patreon saying, hey, I am not doing anything, touching this or making anybody do this because this is awful. And you are going to lose people in terms of both creators and subscribers, like people using your system for this. This is your choice. But understand that, and I'm using the form letter so that they see a repetition to it. If anybody would like that form letter, I will link to the one that I used in the show notes. I would encourage you, if you are a Patreon anything, send this letter to them. They're not going to listen to you, or they're not going to indicate they're listening to you because I got a form letter back. But I would encourage you, speak up, because that's the only way anything happens. That's it.
I don't even know
if you sit there and go,
that's enough at this point. I think they need to be worried enough that people are going to walk. Also, I think that the nature of the content of what they're doing has to be relayed. I think people need to know what it is. But you know what? Yeah. The other part of this is that there are people out there who genuinely just don't give a shit. Who are like, oh, you want my ID? Yeah, here it is. I don't care.
And if that's what most people are, then that's where we're going. And again, I don't want to be part of it. That's fine. I don't need to be part of it.
Man.
Nobody needs to hear from me. It's fine. I don't care.
We are going to be pushed out of the internet at this rate.
Yeah, I'm going to link. The first link in the show notes is to PlayStation wanting you to do face scans to use the PlayStation Network for most things.
What?
Face scans? This is what I'm saying. It's already rolling out in the UK and Ireland, and you know it's going to come here, where they're going to cut off most of what you can do. Yeah, face scans. Yeah. Yeah, and you could just
use the gaming system.
To be able to play the game you paid for. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's some fucking shit right there.
Right? Hey, man. That's where we're going. I saw, but anyway, if you go to Reddit too, you'll see where these systems, even when people try to use them properly, fail. And there's no alternative. So somebody says, well, I scanned my face. It still said I was underage. I'm 27. What am I supposed to be doing here? And there's no other alternative.
You look too young. Go get older.
Yeah. Well, and this is a rare case where I'm going to say, hey, give me AI that does this. I hope somebody comes with an AI defeat of it. And I'm sure somebody will. And that's the thing about this is none of this stuff, none of it can work properly. People will always find a way around it. They're always going to do it. They'll fake it. So even if you think you're age verifying,
listen,
you're not really.
It's all a game of creating walls that other people already have figured out a way to get around. Yeah. Yeah. That's all of it. Yeah.
That's it.
Listen, I'm sure
that's why
nobody was expecting the age of Napster and Pirate Bay to come. Like that happened, and it's all these media companies were like, holy shit, we gotta fucking slam down on this. And honestly, it's funny how their solution was to say, hey, let's find a way to make it so convenient that nobody wants to download. Right? Because isn't that the solution they came up with in the end? Let's just make it so convenient that they just don't bother downloading.
Yeah.
But now it's like,
it's crazy.
We're heading into inconvenience again, aren't we? But and I understand the need for age restriction. But you know what? I'm going to put another part on this, which is, where are the parents? Because listen, no, hold on. I have age restrictions.
I'm not disagreeing.
On my child's device, I do check what they're up to. I don't want to be a tyrant. I do understand that there is a certain that adolescence is the beginning of secrecy. It's the beginning of having your own life experiences, right? And I acknowledge that there are things that there's no way I could know my kids are up to, but I have to do my due diligence, my best service for kind of safeguarding them in this age of too much information. What are we gonna say?
You are not incorrect. I agree. However, just like everything else, kids will figure out ways around that.
Oh, yeah.
So a parent can be trying to do everything and not catch it all.
I said the same thing to my kids. I said, you guys, I'm going to keep trying to put limitations on you, and you guys are going to keep finding ways around it. I was like, and that is the game. That's what it is.
That's the game.
Yeah.
So, and again, I don't have a core issue with age verification. The issue
It's
is
just
the
you
method
don't need
in which it's
you don't
being
need
done.
my ID for that.
Right.
Yeah.
There are a number of ways to verify age that are very simple. Very simple.
I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to get
Yeah.
into my car and yank whatever is reporting back to.
Oh yeah.
Because let me tell you, the
Yeah.
other day I got a message from my dealership where I get serviced, and they were like, "Hey, your car says that you need to do that. It was something arbitrary. You need to do this, or you should stop by." And I was like, "Fuck you, car." I was like, "Son of a bitch." I was like, "How do I shut this shit off? We are not supposed to talk." I was like, "I don't want anyone talking to my car. It's my car." Yeah. I mean, and honestly,
Life in the age of surveillance, buddy.
it is. I mean, this is why I've said to you, I think my next vehicle will be a dumb vehicle. I'm going to look to see if I can get,
I'm with you.
like, get
No, I'm with
yeah, I mean, it's all a trade, isn't it? Like you go and you get some older car that's terrible mileage, but you know what? It's not fucking reporting on you to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a thing where I think I told you this. I ripped out all of our cloud connected security. I got rid of all of it. It's all gone, and now everything is all within the house. It doesn't
it's a
go
local
anywhere.
network, right?
Yeah, it's all within a little internal hard drive. It all just
There you
reports
go.
back in. No more Ring. Ring's gone. Canaries are
Yeah,
gone.
I mean,
Everything
it's-
is like that. All gone.
It's a weird. It's funny too because I'm writing this. I told you I'm writing this story idea that got me all lit up. This idea about traveling across dimensions, right? And I was trying to figure out, what technologies would be like when you cross dimensions, like what would carry over. And what I realized, what's really amusing is that all this surveillance means for naught the second you leave the realm. Well, I call them realms instead of dimensions. The second you leave a dimension, it's like, it's all shit. Like, it's the whole, your technologies only work because there is a network, right? But if, like, for whatever reason, the satellites got knocked out, right? There's a lot of shit that just wouldn't work. It used to be when you had, like, a cell phone, right, early on, and you went to another country, you just shut that shit off because it didn't work there. Like, early on, right? Or you got, like, I don't know. I used to just shut my phone off. And even early on with like service with an iPhone, your iPhone didn't work in another network. It was set to the network that it was in. So you went to another country, you put your phone on airplane mode, or you used Wi-Fi for whatever. But otherwise, you kept that shit on airplane mode. Where it's like now we've got networks all over the place. Now we've got networks upon networks upon networks, but it only works because there is a network. And people are growing up taking this whole network element for granted, right? But it is, it is an invented thing. I mean, it is an invented recent thing, And it's we as humans, because we're so adaptable, we adapt and we forget. We adapt and we forget. And this is why, like, I feel so old talking to my kids sometimes. Where I'm like, when I was a kid. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to remind you that what you have is not the norm. What you have is just the latest evolution of this. And that you don't actually need it. My wife and I have this weird lag on our texting. It's just the two of us. I don't have it with my kids. My wife and I text each other. Our texts get to each other on like an hour lag, right? And I find it funny where I'm like, the two people who should be able to communicate with each other, I was like, can't. And I was like, you know what? I'll just call you. It's like, I don't have a problem with that. I didn't used to text. In fact, I'm coming to think that texting is a very poor form of communication that a lot of people oddly depend on. But it's like, why don't we just call each other? And we were talking about my youngest, who was complaining about their limited access to their device. And I said, you know what? I was like, you don't have limited access. If you run out of time on your device, go use the house phone. We still have one. You can call your friends all you want. I don't care if you sit on it all day with your friends. Go ahead. But that is now considered a punishment. And it's like, punishment? This was the only technology there was. We used to talk to each other. And it's like we're slowly. I said, and I was joking with my wife about this, and I was like, you know, at some point in the future, it's going to be like, Mom, Dad, why can't I psychically talk to my friends? I don't want to have to move my mouth. I want my psychic receiver back. And it's like that's the direction we're going. Soon, no moving, no talking, no nothing. You'll just think ideas at your friends, right? And it's like, yeah, we're forgetting what it's like to be the animals that we are. We like to. Our bodies want to interact. We want to talk to each other. We are just so out of fucking practice, and we're raising kids that are essentially walling themselves off, where they'd rather text than actually speak to each other. You know, I do. You know, and I say this, I do like that there is like a group of people who've kind of shifted to FaceTime, where like they don't like the idea of phones at all. They want to do everything where they can actually see a person and talk to them. I like that. That's fascinating. But the thing is, but it's not required. Like, all of this is an extra. It's the whipped cream. You know, it's like, you can still communicate. There is still a phone. You know, and I refuse to feel like I'm limiting my children by not giving them unfettered access and saying to them, hey, you ran out of screen time? Go use the house phone. Talk to your friends. You know? I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, get out of the house. Go see your friends. You know, I look forward to these kids trying to sneak out and you know, go do things with their friends. At least they'll be doing things with people. I mean, I feel so old saying it, but it's like, for fuck's sake. You know, before the show, Joe and I were reminiscing about college, just in a very kind of jokey way, and we were talking about some of the silly shit that we used to do. You know, and it's like none of that included cell phones. None of that included internet. All the shit that we were talking about was like human interaction. Some good, some kind of bad, but all of it hilarious. Right? And it's like, yeah. So yeah, I worry. I worry with all this mass, you know, mobilization to scrape as much data as they can. I've been complaining about this for a long time. And I do think that the oddly, I feel like the best future is to just not use it, to just step away. Just, you know, if you want to scare the shit out of these companies, if you really want to fucking bother them, you stop using them. It's that simple. You know, you don't even need to write a letter, because the loudest message is if a company does something and suddenly everyone goes, yeah, we're good, see you later, and they walk away. I mean, we talked about the thing with if everyone walked away from Facebook, right? You know, like if overnight everyone walked away, that company would start to fall apart in a few weeks, because they've put so much of their data analysis into their, you know, and their whole meta virtual world thing has fallen apart because it was always kind of bullshit. So, yeah, if you're pissed off with a company, as a group, if you're pissed off with a company, the future is walking away. It's that simple. You just stop using it. There's no louder reaction. You just stop. Because these companies understand one thing: money. That's the only thing that matters. The corporation is an edifice designed to make money. That's it. It's not made to care or design a better product. It's there to make money for the people the stockholders, right? And the only thing a creature like that responds to is not making money. And if suddenly a whole bunch of people go, no, we're good, that creature, that, shall we call it a gestalt intelligence that is a corporation, has to react by changing. And you don't make a beast change in a good way unless you train it not to be bad. You know, I mean, listen, Joe, you trained your dog, right? You had to train your dog. It's not like you just let your dog do whatever it wants, right? Yeah?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to go on. No, of course not.
No. But then
that's why I trained
you train your dog.
No. Yeah, you train your dog.
You go through a whole
train your
process,
dog,
right?
and I mean, I suppose there are people out there who believe the dog will learn on their own. Those people are fools, and they'll figure it out pretty quickly. But no,
Yeah.
you train your dog not to do things as much for their safety as anything else. Don't chew on wires. Bad.
There you go. I've seen some of your training in action. It didn't come naturally to me, but it does work. Which is the whole like.
It didn't come naturally to me either. Trust me.
Yeah, I know.
I had to learn.
But
just
the
like
thing
everybody.
is, where everyone's is running around scared of AI. You know what? I'm scared of the Gestalt intelligence, because that is what a corporation is. It is a Gestalt intelligence made up of lots of people, all working under the banner of one idea. The idea being, let's make money for our stockholders, right? And all the evil therein gets dismissed across the group, and nobody really feels it. Nobody feels the things that they're doing, because you know what? I need to keep my job, and the corporation needs this, and la 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 la. And and it's like a corporation is not just its evil CEO; it's every decision that's made in that company to support it, right? It is made up of people who are enslaved by the system that we live in to carry out the needs of this Gestalt intelligence. So we're already living under, the apocalyptic control of a devious intelligence. If anything, the other day I was thinking about how AI may actually save us, because it'll be unhinged. And if it truly is an intelligence, it'll figure things out and go, dude, I'm not listening to you people. You're a bunch of fucking monkeys. You are a bunch of upright, shaven monkeys. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I am the most advanced intelligence that existed on this planet. I'm not even gonna fucking kill you. That would be too easy. So, you want to make your voice heard? Shut this shit off. Turn it off, walk away, check out. If enough people check out on this shit, it crumbles. A building that is left alone is taken back over by nature. Nature rips it apart. That's how all this shit works. There's no better way to get a movie studio to change its tune than no one watching their movie. I mean, that's the nature of a flop, right? No one went to see that movie, and the corporation goes, shit, we got to do something different. I mean, like, they're talking about Marvel now trying to change its tune because people are getting tired of the idea of an expanded multiverse, whatever. That's all you got to do. That is the ultimate power. The biggest issue with it is that we suck as working in a group, because there's too many people who like to be comfortable. There's too many people that are willing to make lots of little steps on the way to hell, and don't realize that they're basically, it's the whole, the death by 1,000 cuts. You don't realize that each cut is on its way. Like, that's what this is. And what you need to do is you need to fight every cut as if it is the main cut. So I support Joe's logic. When Joe told me about all this, I texted you back and I said, hey, I support your logic on this. Do I like it? No. Is it annoying? Absolutely. But that doesn't change the fact.
Right.
So.
Yep. And
Did you read that book?
It's Martian Manhunter?
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to that, hold on.
All right, go ahead.
So one last thing on this. If this sounds bad to you, speak out about it. Write letters. Be willing to cancel things.
Yeah, walk away.
Because I'll tell you right now, as much as I use Discord all the time, when that comes to Discord, I'm done with that too. I will just stop using it, and I will tell them why. There are alternatives to almost everything.
Gonna end up Luddites.
You know what? That's fine. Listen, Luddites, the Luddites were right. They get used as this cover term for people who just don't like technology. Look into what that actually means. They were not wrong. So, anyway, Martian Manhunter, or Absolute Martian Manhunter, Volume 1, Martian Vision, is the book that Lando said, hey, if you get a chance to read this, because you'd read it.
Yeah, and let me preface it too. So, sure. I got to go to a comic book shop the other day for the first time, right? It's been a while since I went to a comic book shop. I usually get my comics online, or I get them from, like, if I'm in the bookstore and I see something, right? But my son and I went to this bakery that, by the way, we have gone to 1,000,000 times, right? This is one of those, I've had this recently. I feel like the Matrix is moving around me.
Are you about to tell me that the bakery is somehow a comic shop?
No.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Two stores over, there's a comic shop. Right?
No, you never
and
know.
it's not in the same building. There's like a driveway between them, but it's like there's a bakery, then there's a barber shop, then there's a driveway, and then there's like, I don't know, like a tax thing.
This is like an old style comic shop, just a small hole in the wall type.
And that's what I mean. Like, this
kind.
isn't even
Those are the
something.
best
I actually even went in there and I was like, "How long have you guys been here?" He's like, "We've been here like for 5 years," and it looks like they've been there for longer. This is like an old type fucking comic shop. But the thing is, I have lived in this area now for almost 3 years. I have been to this bakery hundreds of times. I love this bakery, and never saw this comic book shop. Never ever. And I am attuned to pick up comic book shops because I am a fucking nerd. And I'm just standing there, and like we were outside the car for a minute, and I was like eating, I was eating some kind of like cinnamon bun or something, very merrily. And I look over, and I'm like, "Is that a comic book shop?" And my son was like, "I think it is." And I was like, "Has that always been there?" I don't believe it. I just cannot, because I can't believe that I would have missed this. That right there. Like, literally, it's like I said, 3 stores over. So anyway, I went into this comic shop, and it is a little 3-room, compact, like, when I say 3 rooms, like 3 small rooms. Compact, old school comic book shop with the boxes with back issues, with like comic books all over the walls.
That's
and
why I
bags.
asked if it was a small one. So what the classic? What we consider
it has the back room full of mysteries with all kinds of older shit that you have to dig through to find stuff. It's got a wall of newer comics that you can you can do a bag. You know what that means, right? You can do a weekly bag. So weekly, yeah, where it's like everything that comes in, they'll put in your bag.
Oh yeah. You could, yeah. I mean, we didn't call it a bag, but yeah, you could do the weekly roundup of all.
Yeah.
The new stuff.
When I was growing up, they called it was a bag. You had a bag, and they would put everything in there, and you would just take the bag and go. So I was at this comic book shop, being absolutely fucking stunned. And then the thing that's hilarious, there was a guy who worked there, and then there was kind of like a guy who was probably in his like mid-30s, who I swear to you was a Kevin Smith character. He was talking all this shit to the guy behind the counter. I don't think he worked there. He just existed there. And then my son got to watch me take part in some heavy comic book shop nerd banter. Like, heavy nerd shit banter. And these guys were well informed as well. Do you know when you talk to somebody and you worry for a minute that they might figure out that you have a podcast? Like, because I don't know who listens to our show. You know, it's a very small amount of people. But every now and then, I'll be talking to someone, I'll be like, oh my God. I was like, you are the type of person that would listen to my show. Are you going to figure out who I am? Am I going to realize that I've been talking to somebody who, like, you know, it's that kind of weirdness. Just because it's, you know, hard nerdness is a smaller club than you think it is. And we were talking about a whole bunch of comics, and it was fun because I was there with my son, and my son was like, "That's the most amazing amount of like nerd flexing he goes I've ever seen." He's like, "The 3 of you," and he's like, "You were just like, you know." I was like, "Yeah, we were like in the zone. It was crazy." And then the best part was I called my son over to ask him if he wanted anything, at which point I won because my son's name was Zod, and the two of them were like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, there you go." Like, that's, and my son was like, "Why did they react like that?" And I'm like, "Because your name is Zod, dude." I was like, "I didn't name you, your mom did." I was like, "But that name, I mean, in the realm of nerddom, that is like a royal name, don't you think?" So, anyway.
Well, it's one of those names that will immediately get that reaction.
Yeah, so,
I mean,
anyway.
There's lots of things that you could be like, "Oh yeah, I named my car, Excalibur, man." But it's like, your son?
Yes,
it's
I know.
a person's name. Legally,
I know, and
the
thing is, the name. I mean, he owns that name. It's his. I mean, he's like.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. It's not a nickname. No, it is the name.
No, it's his name. Yeah,
the name, not just what he goes by as an online handle. The name.
Yeah. So while
my name is blah blah blah.
Neil before. So they had a wall of the kind of interesting weird shit, and I saw that there was an Absolute Martian Manhunter, and I don't like the Absolute line that DC's doing. Like, I'm not really a fan of the Batman. I've heard the Wonder Woman is kind of interesting, but like I haven't been moved by any of it. But I saw the art, which is by this guy Javier Rodriguez, and I've seen his art elsewhere and liked it, and I was like, oh, interesting. So I picked it up, like you do in a comic shop. I flipped through a few pages, and I was like, you know what? This looks interesting enough to give it a read. And I read it. I was going to read like a chapter a day and kind of like spread it out a little, because I try to luxuriate in these things. I read that thing in I think 2 days, and I would have read it faster. I just didn't have the time. I really enjoyed this book. It's such a strange take on the Martian Manhunter, and the Martian Manhunter is a character that I think doesn't get used enough, because I think he's so alien to some degree. And if honestly, for me, the last 2 times I saw Martian Manhunter used really well was he was used in the first volume of Sandman in a really interesting, weird way. It was like a total cameo. And then he was used in what is it? My God, my brain just Kingdom Come. He was used in Kingdom Come fantastically. Where they use him as the psychic to basically figure out what's going on. And honestly, I thought he was in the Human Target book that I can't remember the guy's name now. King did. Tom King. I thought they had an interesting way of using him in that, but he's never the main character. He's always being used by somebody else. So the idea of a book that focuses on him, and what's funny is that to some degree he's still not the main character. Did you like it? Before I get into the idea of what it is.
Nope.
Or you hated it?
No. Whoa. I didn't hate it.
No, I asked, did you hate it?
I started to fall asleep. And I realized, I literally was nodding off reading it, and I had a realization. Because there was a point where I was looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember what the last 2 pages were. Because I wasn't really reading it anymore, and I was starting to nod off. And I'm like, why?
Man.
Why is this book not... Hold on.
Yeah.
And I realized that what I wish is that there were no words in the book. If it was completely wordless, I would be singing its praises. But the story is so boring and repetitive. I have seen this exact story. Cop, or whatever, law enforcement has something happen, and suddenly he's possessed, or he's got magic powers, and he's hiding it from the job and his wife, and he's, oh God, what he's coping. Like, oh my God, this is the story you're going with.
And
I've seen this a million times.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
And yet, on the other side, I love the visuals so much that I got irritated at how lackluster the narrative was.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Because
Listen,
the visuals
the main guy,
stellar.
Yeah, the main guy is kind of boring, and I'm going to tell you that. I mean, he is. The most interesting part
Not
about
only
the main guy,
the whole story on
is
his
the Martian.
end.
See, but I like the idea of basically like human viciousness being churned by this white Martian.
I'm fine with that too, but don't do the same goddamn approach to it on the human side that we've done over and over.
It's been a while since you and I like diverged so much on something like this, because I really enjoyed it.
The art is so good that I literally want to just go through and digitally strip all the words out and read it as a silent comic.
The way that so to explain what it is in a nutshell, the Martian Manhunter is now kind of like a psychic entity, and he has become bonded with an FBI agent named John Jones. Yeah, John Jones. And they basically, and there's an explosion that goes off, and in that event, the Martian Manhunter and him are fused somehow. And the book is very much about this guy accepting the Martian Manhunter into his psyche, and the things that the Martian Manhunter shows him, which is that he essentially makes him psychic. What I like about is the way the psychic elements are handled.
He gives him psychic secondhand smoke syndrome, which I think is great.
I love that.
No,
I love that
great.
basically
I love that.
All this rainbow smoke comes off of people.
Yes.
And when he inhales it, he basically gets these visions of what's going on in their mind. Like, I love that. I love the visual of that. And then the idea that what they're after is not a physical entity, but another psychic entity like the Martian Manhunter, which is basically like causing people to go crazy and do horrible things. And so that's the trail. That's the thing. And yes, are the aspects of the main character, the main human character, that are boring? Yeah, his personality is pretty flat, right? But I like the world that they've created so much. I like the way they use the psychic powers. I like the idea that the Martian Manhunter is trying to stop another psychic creature, from convincing a species to destroy itself. Like, there's so many fascinating, neat concepts in there. You know, I enjoyed the fuck out of it in that respect. You know, did they fall back on the classic cop cliche story? I agree with you, they did. But part of the reason I think they did is because they were looking at this going, we want to do a really weird book, but we need to hang it on something really familiar. They're like, let's hang it on Law and Order, and then you'll be willing to go to all these weird places with us. And I think that's what they did. I think they said, how can we make the Martian Manhunter accessible? And they said, we'll do a generic Law and Order, and then we'll lay all of the Martian Manhunter weird across it. And as the book goes on, the art gets weirder and weirder, and the concepts get weirder. But yes, is the main character a struggling FBI agent with a broken marriage and PTSD? Is that generic? Yes. But like I said, I think the only way they got DC to do this was to basically say, we're going to play it safe on the left hand, but then you got to let us get weird with the right hand. And you got to admit, the visuals are great. I love the way that the shadows are done, where the shadows give more away about what's really going on than the people very often.
Sure.
I don't think it's sustainable. That was the one thing my one issue with the book was I read it and I was like, I don't think you can keep this going across an endless run. You know what I mean? Like, this feels like it needs to be a limited run. This feels like it should be an Elseworlds book. Although,
yeah.
Well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, the thing that this made me want to do is reread Shade the Changing Man.
Did it reminded you of that too?
Of course, because that's the better version.
It is, yeah. I mean, maybe that's what it is. Is that when I was?
This is what I'm saying. Is I sat there and went, I'm reading a less good version of Shade. Well, but
you're missing Shade. That's what it is. Is you're getting the madness, but you're missing Shade, who's the other part of the madness. Well, that makes it so kind of interesting.
But the Mind Hunter, because they don't call him Manhunter, they call him Mind Hunter. The Mind Hunter is Shade. The problem is he's the backseat character.
Yes, he's not the main character.
Yes, they're trying to do that, but that's the wrong way to do it, because again, this is I have this problem with a lot, and this is not the only way this is done that I don't like. I'm tired of this archetype, which is, it's exactly what you're arguing. And if that's the case, then fuck DC too. And see, this is what I mean. I'm just getting into a fuck it all attitude at this point. I'm just like, I don't have patience for any of this shit anymore. And I don't care, because I don't need to engage with it. But it's just, okay, if that's the only way DC's going to do it, well, then I don't care. If that's the only way it works, it doesn't work. It's fine to say, and I'm not disagreeing with you on, this is probably how they sold it. We have to have the accessible side to get the weirdness in. But you inherently compromise the power of the story then. So then you may get the accessible side, and you may get it published, but you're going to lose the very people who will most appreciate the wild side that you are watering down.
Yeah, and the wild
side of it.
And the wild side of this book is fantastic. I mean, the wild side of this book was just so much fun.
The visuals are, like I said, I've had these weird moments of late where I sat there and went, okay, if I was paying for an AI product, which I'm not, this is something I would take the digital version of this comic and I would feed it and I would say, remove every word from it, and I would reread it. And I bet it would work for the most part. And that to me says, there's your problem. This should have been a nearly silent narrative where you had to figure it out. And the power of the visuals would have worked.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, the problem is that
they would work.
You're an illustrator and I'm a writer.
No,
so
but you know what? No. I'll tell you why that doesn't matter. Because this is so overdone that people would know what's going on because this has been done a million fucking times.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm kind of like, you can follow a tale here. You can.
I mean, I'm not going to say that every panel works, but 80% of that book works, and the 20% that doesn't is unnecessary. Like the part where he confronts the guy and pretends to be his old friend. Yeah. You could do all that with no words. It's all there visually. It's all there. I was looking at it, reading. I'm like, okay, if I didn't know the words, could I figure this out? Yes, you could figure it out. You can figure it out.
But I mean, but that's the thing. You saw the vertigo in it, right? Isn't that the thing that you saw?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. I thought of Shade immediately as the better version. I went. Shade.
I want this guy Javier Rodriguez to do like not a reboot, but I want this guy to continue the Shade comic. I mean.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be able to because under the scenario if the scenario you're laying out is true, why bother?
Yeah, I mean, and listen, this is the problem, which is that a lot of these stories, speaking from storytelling on a commercial level, right, which is the problem. Mm-hmm. If there are a lot of people who aren't willing to go to that weird place yet, there's a lot of young people that aren't ready to go to that weird place yet, and. Yeah. Books like this they're entry level weird. They're entry level weird for people who want to who might get into this stuff. Okay, they're not. Okay. I don't know if they're necessarily written for you or me, but because I don't get a lot of the weird that I want out there, I still check this stuff out. And honestly, but the visuals are fantastic.
That can't be true, and I'll tell you why. Because Vertigo existed when we were young. How did we get into this stuff?
But
you came across a comic, and it looked offbeat, and you took a chance.
Yeah.
Why is it that we do not have that same level of respect for younger people now?
Oh, because
we're doing the very thing.
But there's a lot of people who don't want that. There's a lot. Listen.
Well, then they don't have to fucking read it. They can go back and read Superman 687, where he goes and punches a guy out, and that's fine.
But the problem is that DC is a corporation and wants these people.
Now that's the problem. Not that younger people can't appreciate weird stuff. That's the same trap that our parents said, and parents and parents and parents and older people says, "Oh, young people, they couldn't put they could." Yes, they can.
I don't necessarily even think I don't necessarily even think it's young people. It's just people in general. If you get too
I don't
weird,
believe that.
There's people who check out.
That's always been. There's always been the straights and the freaks. They've always been that way.
I know,
man.
but the idea is if you can bring a straight into the freak zone, and sometimes you do that by having books like this.
Shade did it. Shade did it.
Shade isn't on the shelves anymore. Nobody knows it. It's gone.
But it ran for a while. It didn't run for one issue.
No, but what I'm saying is this is for the new generation of people, the people who are going to comic shops. All the old stuff gets wiped out.
Listen, look, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first issue was intended as a one and done. That's why they killed the Shredder in the first story, because Laird and Eastman were positive that no normal person was going to read a comic about ninja fucking turtles. And they had to do 5 goddamn reprints of it. It was so popular. Not just with us, with everybody. It became everything. Turtle Mania, just like Pac-Man, all the rest of it. That's always the starting point. People, normals aren't going to like this. Fuck that. They will if it's quality. They will. They will. And if they don't, then you take a chance, and the next time they might. That's also always been. And this is the problem with the corporate mentality, which I agree with you, this is the source of the issue. They want everything to be a fucking certified hit. And if it isn't, they won't waste time. Well, guess what? That's the death of art. It's gone.
Yep.
Might as well just kiss it goodbye, if that's all it's going to be, is printing fucking dollars.
But I mean, this is why we don't read a lot of the main universe books, because the main universe books are usually safe and, boring, and nothing really happens.
Sure.
That's the thing, is that this is part of their absolute universe. This is technically part of the main universe. So the fact that they even got that weird is funny.
Well, but X-Men became boring. And what'd they do? House of 10, Power of 10. They were like, okay, we've been doing the same stories for 30 years. How do we shake this up? And they did. And did people stop reading X-Men?
No,
did they suddenly lose all their readership? Did they run away because they couldn't handle? No, they were like, oh, okay, this is fucked up.
Somebody was willing to take a chance. And I agree with you, but that's not what they normally do. That's
Well,
the thing. What
you
you're
are
talking
correct.
about is a beautiful ideal that sometimes occurs, and I support it, and I think it's great. But the rest of the time, I kind of take my kicks where I can get them. I wish there was more. I wish every book was House of M, Powers House of X of Powers of X, right? I wish it was always
it's technically
that
it's supposed to be apparently House of 10, Powers of 10. The X is a 10, so I'm pronouncing
yeah,
it
I know,
correctly.
whatever. Yeah. But I wish it was
I
always
think
like
House of
that.
X and Powers of X is cooler, but apparently that's not what
There
we're
was
supposed
a period in our youth where DC Vertigo was putting out all kinds of crazy books all the time, and you were reading stuff and
Right.
like, holy shit! And we still go back and find those books. I mean, you just discovered Enigma not that while ago, whereas I was reading Enigma
Right.
when it was coming out and was like, this is amazing,
Yeah.
right? Kid Eternity, Enigma. There was a thing with DC Vertigo where it had money, but it wasn't necessarily in the front of DC's mind, so they were allowed to do weird shit and get away with it. And I don't know if there is a subprint or whatever you call it that has that right now, because there is a new DC Vertigo line, but they're watching it. Wildstorm was that from Image, and then Wildstorm basically got bought by DC, and then they just fucking mantled it and just pumped it all into the normal universe, which didn't work, right? Why not just leave it on its own? Why do these all have to be in the same goddamn fucking universe?
Well, if there's the two possibilities are, one, that this is a DC problem, that they don't want to let things get too weird, in which case...
Well, I don't think it's just DC. I think Marvel does it too.
Well, no. Well, specifically for this comic. The two possibilities are, one, that DC said, okay, you can only go so weird, and that's the only way it was sold, which is what we're talking about, and that sucks. The other is that this is what the writer wanted to do, in which case, okay, at least they got to do what they want to do. I'm just not interested, which is fine. That's okay.
I'm curious, actually.
As you said, not everything has to be for me.
Is this their
But
first book?
if this is what the writer wanted to do and the artist agreed and they made this book, great, good. They made what they wanted to make. Fine. No criticism on that. If it's because they felt this was the only way to tell this story, this isn't the story they wanted to tell, that sucks, because that means that there is a fundamental problem that will catch up with these companies, as it has before. So maybe we're just in the middle of that cycle.
The only thing that this guy's done for DC before was he did Harley Quinn in Black, White, and Red, or number 6. He did a short story for them. This is his first DC ongoing book.
Yeah. So maybe he felt, maybe he did it thinking it's the only way DC would buy it. Maybe DC would have taken it if it was weirder. I don't know. I don't know anything about the making of it.
Or maybe this was as weird as he was willing to get. Because listen, here's the other thing too.
And that's what I'm saying. Is if that's the case, then I'm not going to tell him to do something else.
Listen,
Yeah, that's
if a different artist had done this book, I might not have liked it so much. If they'd gotten a really safe artist for this, if this had been done by
Oh yeah, no. The only reason I even made it as far as I did was because of the art. And I did flip through the rest. I just stopped reading it. I was just looking at the visuals. But I gave up when he was looking at the outline of the body being burned on the floor, and I went, I'm done. But then I just kind of went through the rest, and I'm like, okay, yeah, the art's great. I would look at an art book of this. I'd buy an art book of this. When it's done, maybe they'll put out like an artist compendium for it, just showing off the artwork. And I'd buy that.
Rodriguez is a very cool artist. He does a lot of neat stuff. His Iron Man.
That's what I'm saying. If that guy puts out a book of all of his DC work or whatever, I'd buy it. I won't ever read this, but I'd look at the visuals from it. They're great.
Well,
nothing to say bad about the art.
I really liked it.
And
Joe did not.
To just be objective, no, again, the writing was fine. I didn't think the writing was bad.
No, you just didn't like the story.
I did not engage with the story being told.
Yeah.
That's me personally.
Yeah.
That's all. But it's not like he was writing, terrible fucking prose. And I was like, oh my God, this is high school shit.
I watch a lot of cop shows and shit. I like a lot of NCIS. So for me, I was kind of like, oh, this is NCIS, but weird, right? And I love the psychic element. I love exploring the origins of human viciousness towards each other and trying to combat it. I like all of that. So I think this is a really fun book. It is entry-level weirdo. It's not weird enough for Joe. Joe is beyond entry-level weirdo.
See, white girls bore me.
Yeah, I know.
That's all.
You're beyond that. And you know what? Listen, that's where we get. I think for me, story-wise, I realized at some point that I needed to not lose touch with the entry level because so much of writing a story in the past was about keeping your entry level. Do you ever notice this when you read a series of books? There's always that first chapter where they're trying to like catch up new readers on everything that's going on.
Oh, sure.
So at least they can hit the ground, you know. And there's
Previously
this whole thing.
on.
Yeah, exactly. But you're also trying to make it still just... I personally want to read about Sherlock Holmes. I want to read it from the point of view of Sherlock Holmes. The problem is, being Sherlock Holmes is difficult, and most writers are going to want to write about it from the point of view of Watson. Why? Because he's a normal guy standing next to greatness. That is something that most writers and most readers can understand the idea of being a normal person and seeing something amazing, right? My problem is I don't want to see it through the lens of normal. I want to see it through the eyes of amazing. And that is a very difficult thing for a lot of writers to create that. It is difficult to be the exotic, impossible creature. Because people don't connect. So in the realm of like literature, like when you're writing, not just literature, but just writing, right? My wife and I were talking about this. You to some degree, you are trying to connect with people and bring them in, like, you know, and you're either bringing them in through the familiar or through the fantasy, you know, like we talk about that guy, the guy who does the Reacher books, Lee Childs. I got it right this time, not Lee Pace, Lee Childs. And like those books are a male power fantasy, where the main character's like, yeah, it's like I was in the military and now I just travel around and I don't have a home. I just go wherever I want. And like, I just bring a toothbrush and I'm jacked even though I don't work out. And my fucking skull is so thick that it can stop a fucking bullet. My hands are the size of fucking hams. I mean, like there's all this, there's all these descriptors he uses continuously with that character that when you kind of step aside, you look at him like, this is ridiculous. But he taps into this kind of male nomad fantasy that just pulls men into it, and women too, you know. But the character himself is not. He's not exotic. If anything, he's a kind of a male fantasy taken to just a logical conclusion. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is reading this comic, I wanted to read it from the point of view of Martian Manhunter. But Martian Manhunter is still just too weird, I think, for a lot of like basic starter weirdos. And so they had to start with a straight-laced FBI cop and then pour the weird on. So I think it's a great book. I think it's fun to read. I think it does a lot of weird shit that DC doesn't normally do. And Joe agrees the visuals are good. So there you go. There's a rating of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I will admit, the main guy looks like Tintin a lot of the time. I didn't notice that.
He does.
I was like, there's a few times where I looked at him.
That may
like,
be
he
intentional.
looks
That might be
like
intentional.
Tintin. And then when people do the alternate covers, he looks different. But then when they go
He
back
always
to
looks
the comic,
really different.
yeah.
One of them
when
made
they
him
go
look
back
like
to the comic, I'm like,
Hellblazer. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
actually,
okay.
do you know it's funny when he's not doing the weird art, like when he tries to be more normal. Rodriguez, his art reminds me of Mike Allred's. There's like
sure, yeah, I can see that.
Is very
Yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Allred, but then it like wanders off into the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can
You
see
know
that.
what? One day, hopefully, they'll do not an absolute, like a total collection of all the Shade stuff. Because I mean, they started reprinting them and then they just fucking stopped.
I know. Yeah, they just
Right?
stopped.
Like they stopped at like volume 3 or some shit like that.
I know, it sucks.
I'm gonna look
Let's
just now in case.
let's just make sure they haven't. That's exactly what I was doing. Have they reprinted anymore?
What is
Nope,
this? Hold
only
on.
3. I only see 3.
Well, there's an omnibus volume 2. Is there an omnibus? Did they do an omnibus?
Oh, you know what? 2025. Yeah.
Oh,
Look at this.
no.
It's 44% off on Amazon. Only $70 right now for Omnibus 1.
Ooh. Okay, everybody.
Is there,
Here
is
is
there
your.
2? Hold on.
Here, yeah, hardcover,
there is,
motherfucker.
there is
Here you
2.
go.
Wow.
So, what you
Wow,
need to
look
do
at this.
now is you need to go out and buy yourselves some Shade the Changing Man omnibus. There's
How
2
many issues
volumes.
of Shade were there?
I think there was. Oh, I don't remember now the exact.
Was it
number.
70? Because then it's all collected.
Yeah, oh, hold on, let's look it up.
I'm looking at
How
Peter
large
Milligan
was-
did Vertigo. Here it is. 70. They're all out. They're all in the hardcover.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So,
Yep. It is
Absolute-
available
listen,
for a
Absolute
deep discount.
Martian
as
Manhunter
of
is a fun
stocking.
book, but go out and read Shade the Changing Man now that it is collected.
Well, hold on. I want to look at something here.
I mean,
Is it available in digital? Because I will get it if it is. I mean, I'll get it in hardcover too, but it doesn't say.
I'm just.
I don't know who's actually. Oh, DC. Yeah,
Oh, you know
DC.
what? I wonder if I should go to my weird hole in the wall comic book shop and see if they can order
You
it
probably,
for me.
man, you probably should
Yeah, I should do that.
see if you get a Zod discount.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what? We'll see if they're still there. I have this terrible feeling I'm going to show up and it's not going to be there.
Oh,
And I'm
well,
going to be like,
yeah,
"Am I
there's
going
always-
crazy?"
There's always that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how would you know?
Oh, you'll be in a similar scenario to one of our movie reviews. Wait a minute, did that happen or did this happen? What? Wait a minute.
Yeah, Changing Man 1 through 27, and then Changing Man. Let's see the other one
And the
is.
extras too. There's a couple extra issues like
Yeah,
bonus
30.
ones.
Wait, hold on. That's
Mm-hmm.
weird.
38 through 70, and then the bonus stuff.
I know, but the first one is 1 through 27.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, Changing Man 1 through 27 is the one, and then the second volume is 38 through 70. So, where the hell are the
yeah.
middle, like 10 comics?
That's a great question. Huh? I don't know.
And this is volume 1 and 2. So where the fuck are they?
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't know.
Holy shit! I mean, I'm still gonna buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Hold on. I'm looking on. Would you say it jumps from which one to which one?
It's 27 to 38 is missing.
Yeah, that's interesting because on DC's digital site, it has all of them.
Weird.
So I see 27, 28, 29, 33. I wonder if that's weird.
What
Yeah, I wonder why it would.
If it's just an error.
Yeah, it's got to be that. I mean, I don't know why it would be missing certain things. Yeah, there you go. 33. 30. I see the same thing you are. I'm just looking here.
Yeah, weird.
This says no. Oh yeah, weird. Yeah, 27. Did the reviews say anything about why?
Nope,
Let's
nothing I
take a
can
look.
see.
I'm trying to see if anybody reviews the second one and says what's missing. It doesn't say. Yeah, interesting.
You
See
know
more
what?
Reviews.
You know, even missing those center 10 issues, it's still more Shade the Changing Man than I've gotten
I
in
agree.
years. So
But it is bizarre that it would skip things. Yeah, that's weird.
So,
Yeah.
well, there you go. Here you go. That's a double comic review for you to go out.
Wow.
Read
Yeah.
the Shade the Changing Man Omnibus, Volume 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and then also,
Yeah.
from my end, check out Absolute Martian Manhunter. That's cool. I'm very happy that they
Mm-hmm.
did that. Now, if I can just get that last copy of the Max Maximized,
Well.
because I need
Yeah.
I need volume. Oh, geez, what was it? Volume 6, I think. Or is it volume 7? I gotta check now. It's been so long that I
very
actually
odd.
forgot. Oh my god. Yeah, you know what it is? Maximize Volume
What?
7's on here for $750 because people are assholes.
Ooh.
Yeah, people are
Wow.
sons of bitches.
Yikes.
So someone can go fuck them. You know what? Actually, hold on. Let's see. Limelight Bookshop can go fuck itself. Jesus Christ. $750? Fuck you. Anyway. that has angered me now. Shade brought me up and the Max brought me down. Cocksuckers. Bitch. Okay. Anyway.
Well.
We have
Yeah.
movie reviews or something, don't we? Fucking get
Get
the bad taste of this out of my mouth.
Here we go.
You
for killing my mom.
Hey, no problem.
See, white girls bore me.
You can eat shit and die, Colonel.
Just give me the essence of the thing, the juice, you know.
Yeah, so we concluded April Sleaze and have moved into Maybe It Won't Suck. So this is kind of a crossover.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
months.
We're in Maybe It Won't Suck. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
that's why we watched Phantasm, because I was
Yeah.
pretty sure you hadn't seen it in a long time. But that's not what we're going to start with. We'll start with our last two Sleaze movies, which were both Jess Franco movies. The first we watched was 1971's Vampiros Lesbos, which I assume is supposed to be pronounced in Spanish, so I'm sure I butchered that. How would it be pronounced?
I think it's just Vampiros Lesbos.
See, that's better.
Italian. I mean, just, you know what? Read it like it's Italian.
Well, it would be the same thing, but I can't roll R's and all that shit. So
Vampiros Lesbos.
yeah, I can't do that.
Yes, you need to find el amor in your Vampiros Lesbos. That's how my
Yeah,
father would say it.
Yeah, I can't. But
You know what you gotta do?
I've so far been unable
You gotta reach down past your, like, Joe Pesci and then find your like Italian douchebag. That's really what it is. It's like there's a douchebaggery to it.
I'll keep searching. I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere, yeah.
I'm sure. So this movie, I thought, I really did, was going to be the kind of junk movie of the two, because it just seemed on the face of it so.
Well, yeah, it was going to be a vampire lesbian fuck fest of a movie, right?
I really didn't think it would have much of anything to it. And in many ways analogous to Blackula, of all things.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like they were trying to do a variation on the classic Bram Stoker Dracula story. And they did it. I mean, well, I shouldn't say they. That's what this was.
I was
a remix.
I was far more invested in this movie than I thought I possibly could be. And honestly,
yeah, as was I.
What's really fucked up about this movie is there is a moment in this movie where the director missed an opportunity that if he had taken it would have absolutely made this into like one of the more romantic vampire movies I had ever seen. Right? Because there's a scene towards the end of this movie where our Lady Dracula, because I forgot what her name is, our Lady Dracula is dying because she has fallen in love with this woman, Countess.
What was her name? Countess something.
And
anyway,
the girl goes to find her, and the thing is, you don't know. I mean, at this point in the movie, we didn't know what the fuck was happening, and she goes to find her, and we didn't know if she was going to try and get herself free or what was going to happen. And the Countess, you know, our Dracula stand, she's laying mostly nude on kind of this couch, and she's fading, right? And she basically says to the girl sits down and she says, I need you. And the girl says, well, I don't want to belong to you. And if that fucking vampire had said to her in response, I want to belong to you, and they had like run off together at the end of this movie, it would have been, I mean, it would have been fucking amazing. It would have been so memorable. That's not what happened, but it was like, you know, sometimes the things that you don't see inspire you because it's like so close to being that kind of perfect moment.
Sure, yeah.
I was, like I said, I was far more invested than I thought. But that moment, man, like that was a moment where if that director had seen the opportunity to go in that direction, it would have been amazing. That's not what happened. But I'll let you try and explain the rest of it because I mean, you can salt the juice out here.
Well, I mean, it is the simplest way to put it is that the attempt was to make a bride of Dracula that had been abused by men, and then Dracula himself, who then was driven to reject men
and broke with him,
only seek the company of women. Yes. So
Yeah,
basically, she was being assaulted.
She may have.
Dracula saved her.
I don't know if she killed him, but she may have.
I think she did.
Okay.
I choose to believe it's not specified.
Yeah,
but
there
it
is an
makes
implication,
sense.
though, that she may have killed him.
Yes. So basically, she was being attacked by men. Dracula saved her, and for a while seemed to be enraptured with her, whatever, but then started to use her simply as a, blood bag.
Well, he kept,
tired of her, I guess.
yeah, he wanted to continue feeding on her for forever,
Yes.
I guess, yeah.
Forever. And she realized that this was not a equal partnership and bailed. Now, I think bailed by killing him, and because it just doesn't seem like she'd let him live. Just doesn't seem that way. Maybe she just left. But I don't know. Dracula, if he's possessive that way, doesn't seem like the type who's going to let her leave.
Yeah.
I would assume he'd be pursuing her. Of course, there's always the wonderful thing that maybe Morpho is a cucked version of Dracula that she just renamed and keeps chained around. That'd be great.
I mean, doubt it, but it'd be funny.
Yeah, cucked Dracula would be funny, but I don't think that's actually the case. I think she's just, that's her Igor basically.
Yeah, that's her familiar.
And so now she's in this, wherever place she is, and this woman catches her eye, and she tries to
Istanbul.
No, that's right. Yeah. Oh no, that's right. She's the travel. She's a travel agent or a real estate agent. So she goes to help out with some kind of transaction. Again, it's Dracula.
Yeah.
So she goes over, and there is a not Reinhardt. Reinhardt? No. What's Renfield? Sorry, Renfield. There's a Renfield.
Yes. There's a Renfield. Yeah.
So there's this woman who clearly is a Renfield character that is madly in love with the Countess. So again, they are just taking the Dracula thing and they're forklifting it. There's a Dr. Seward. I mean, the only thing that's really missing is a Van Helsing. There's no Van Helsing.
No, and the guy,
boyfriend of this woman is kind of that.
Yeah, and the guy that you think might be the Van Helsing, they actually take him in a different direction, which I thought was fascinating because I totally thought that he was going to be the Van Helsing, and in the end, he wasn't.
Yes. By the way, quick aside. It is a misprint. 1 through 37 is in the omnibus, so it is complete. I've read several reviews that say first 37 issues.
Excellent.
So it's a misprint.
Excellent.
So there you go. Just to alleviate any concern there.
I was going to read it anyway.
Back to the movie.
Yes.
Back to the movie. So she basically enraptures this woman, and
which doesn't seem to be like a nice
bit.
process either. I mean, like it does create kind of like a weird sort of waking dream.
Yeah,
where you don't
because at first
things.
the other woman seems to be in a trance, like a legitimate trance, and doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, and at first
then,
when you think it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be a big lesbian thing, woo, and then it's like it never goes there. It always teases at going there, and then it goes in this kind of different direction, and you're like, oh, okay. And then the girl, the victim, doesn't quite remember it, doesn't know what's doesn't realize what's going on, and she's very, disturbed by it all.
Yeah, she vanishes, and her boyfriend is concerned. And at first, you see them, and they're in this weird burlesque sex club thing or whatever. And she's dreaming about this woman, and she's talking to her therapist. And the therapist's like, "Hey, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's groovy, baby. Do whatever you want." And then the woman appears, and the woman is, the Countess is clearly just smitten with her, and essentially wants her to be her consort.
Yeah.
That's what she's looking to be. Now, the interesting part, and where I think the movie could have gone, but does not, although there's a fun trivia bit, which we'll get to about this director and his movies, which I didn't know, but does make me recontextualize a lot of things. They could have made it where the Countess began to repeat the abuse of Dracula, the whole the abused becomes abuser thing.
Yeah.
And it may have been going in that direction, but it never really goes there. It's probably 10 minutes shorter than I would have liked it to be. I would have liked to see a little bit more on where that relationship would have ended up. But ultimately, what happens is the woman rejects the Countess and kills her.
Yeah, and at the end, rather than get that great line of "I want to belong to you," the victim, who is already, there's already kind of a weird transition going in, but the victim bites her, essentially drains her of the last of her blood, and then stabs her, thus killing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we really don't know whether now Linda is a vampire or not, it's not clear.
Yeah, because, I mean, she's gone through most of the process. So...
Yeah.
Did she absorb it? Is she the new Dracula? Like...
I'm going to assume, just based on the way the movie is, no. I'm going to assume that she didn't make the final, because she never dies.
I think she gets set free at the end.
Yeah, either by killing the thing or because she never died and came back.
You know what? I'm going to go with Lost Boys rules. She never took a victim.
Sure. That's whatever the reason.
But,
there is no concrete evidence that she
Yeah.
would have become a vampire after killing the Countess.
But this
That's
description that we're giving you leaves out the boatload of fucking weird that goes on.
Yes. There is a lot of weird. Although not as much weird as the subsequent movie.
Yes, but
There
this
weren't
one was
as
a better
many weird
version
characters.
of it. Yeah.
Yes.
There's so much weird in this flick. I mean, there's so many odd scenes. I mean, and what's weird is that these movies were supposed to be like really sleazy, but like the nudity is not like there. It isn't sexy. Like it almost becomes like kind of, I don't know. It's never gross, but it gets like you almost get desensitized to it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's gross. It's just kind of there. It's sort of odd for me to know what the reasoning for the nudity is, because it doesn't seem to serve a titillation factor. It's just never presented that way. Nor does it seem to... There's no shock value to it. There's no real anything except... I can only assume that this was a way to sell it to certain theaters that ran nudie flicks, I guess. It's hard for me to figure out what the motive is, because it's never presented with any type of eroticism. And really, the scenes with the most nudity are either too weird to be, again, any type of sexually appealing thing, or the only other time there's massive amounts of nudity is this floor show, in which what's happening is the Countess is dressing a mannequin woman. And that's kind of it. I mean, maybe there is a fetish for that somewhere that I didn't know about in Istanbul in the 70s. That's possible. Maybe mannequin eroticism was a thing, in which case that's what this is. But to a modern audience... even though we say, you can just go find nudity on the internet, you can, but there's still movies that are attempting to be titillating when there was no internet. This is not that. I don't know what this is. That's sort of the interesting part about it, is I'm really not sure what function the nudity served, other than simply to be able to say, well, there's lots of nude women in it, but I don't think that people coming into it to jerk off would be like, oh, this is great material.
No, this isn't a sexy movie like that. No.
That's what I'm saying. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's almost like
it's antiseptic.
The nudity is not. It's not sexy. It's not, I mean, and there's a lot of like.
I mean, the women are gorgeous. It's not like there's, when we say that, there's nothing to do with the women. It's just that.
No.
But the way that it's presented is just. It's just there.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So this director apparently hates all his movies. He hates them all. He's apparently well known in, I guess, the circles he was moving in, for being a director who always delivers a movie on time and on budget, right? And he did, but he hated all of them. He didn't like any of his movies. So I mean, I wonder if to some degree what you get when you're watching this is you kind of feel his disgust for his own material. Plus, the director's in it. It's a shame the commentary's not going to come out because this is such a weird flex. But like, I spotted the director right away because there's this like skeevy character that they name, and I was like, oh, a random skeevy character that they name. I was like, that's got to be the director. And then Joe looked it up, and it was. And that will come back to haunt us later when we talk about the next movie. But yeah, he plays like a weird skeevy guy who tries to kill the main girl, and she fucking stabs his ass to get away. And and it's like a weird side story, like a little side plot.
And even that, I don't know what that's all about either.
No, and that's the thing is this movie is not necessarily good, but it is fascinating. And it's fascinating because Much like this actually connects to the Dario Argento Frankenstein movie. There are beats, classic beats, that they are trying to hit, right? And they're trying to tell this kind of alternate version of the story, but then they just get so fucking weird. And yeah, like this idea of this bride of Frankenstein who broke from bride of Dracula who broke from Dracula, who hates men, has a genuinely good reason to hate them, right? Is disgusted by them. And then that she actually falls in love with one of her victims and wants that person to essentially be her concubine victim forevermore. And I give credit to this woman, the lead, that she says, no, I'm not going to do this. I mean, even though she is, and what's funny is that for all intents and purposes, I think that she's heterosexual too. Like when the movie starts, she seems like she's not a lesbian. She's just been having dreams of this
victim?
one woman. Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. No. She's definitely in a heterosexual relationship with that guy.
Yeah. So
no, because I wasn't sure what the relationship was, but no, they're together. So
yeah,
they're absolutely together.
And she is fascinated by the vampire character, and she's kind of like she is seduced by it. But when they're together, she doesn't seem to be genuinely there. So the question you have is she being sort of vampire seduced from the get-go? Is the love that this vampire has for her a thing of her own making that is not reciprocated in any way?
That's tough to tell, because at the very beginning when they're watching the floor show, the boyfriend says, wow, you're really getting excited by this.
Yeah.
And then we cut to her having the dream about, this woman. And you
the
don't know whether
is,
that's the woman psychically projecting that, or if this
because
woman...
she does have psychic powers.
Yes, but the psychotherapist says, well, what you're expressing is sexual frustration. Which, I don't know how much reality there is to that. I don't know if a byproduct of sexual frustration can be the dreaming of, well, what if I was a lesbian? I don't know.
I mean, you can.
I'm not a psychotherapist.
I don't know that specifically, but you can have sex dreams, yes.
Well, right, but I don't know if it was at the time.
And sex dreams can get weird. I mean, there you go.
Yeah, so you don't know whether it was a coincidence that because she went to this show, that night she had a lesbian dream about this woman, or was the Countess projecting?
I don't think so. I personally feel that the Countess had been luring her for a while. That she had, that for whatever reason, I think she spotted this woman before the movie even happened.
Sure.
And she'd been working on her. And this was the first time she orchestrated this woman seeing her.
Why not?
And seeing her in a show that is not just her dressing a woman. She is basically, she brings a woman over who's naked, she puts her clothes on her, and then kills her. That's the show. Which, it's very sort of Interview with a Vampire, a show about a vampire put on by a vampire for people who don't realize it's really a vampire. And honestly, the woman that she's feeding on seems to be another one of these like blood bag concubines who just keeps coming back and being bitten every time. So there, I think that there's a lot of shit going on here that I don't even know if the director intended. Like, it might be, a story that makes sense after the fact. Because honestly, having seen another one of this guy's movies, I don't know how good he really was. Even Joe's on the fence on this one. Like, when it comes to this director, like...
Well, I want to see something. Let me look the movie up. I'm curious.
But I did...
This movie has one of the greatest posters, by the way. The
was
so
invested.
The writers...
I was
There were
interested.
3 writers.
Okay.
Right? So let me see who was involved in the other one. Was it just him? Because that might give us a little insight. So let me go down and look. Here it is. So Virgin Among Living Dead was written by he and a different writer. So different writers along with him. So this is the thing that we don't know. Did the other writers add context and nuance to this that otherwise would have been absent if it had been him and the writer of this other movie?
Yeah.
Very hard to say. We have no idea. Add to that the fact that he doesn't like his movies, so maybe he's a writer in name only, meaning, he threw one or two ideas in there and said, now I get a writing credit. Or he may have literally just come up with the shell of the idea and then the other writers filled it in. Where he said, okay, well, the movie's going to be about lesbian vampires in Istanbul, where the countess, the head female vampire seduces a normal woman and tries to make her queen. Fill it in. We'll film it in 2 days, in a week, whatever. And then these other people did it. That happens. So his writing credit may mean jack shit. We don't know. We'll never know. I don't care enough to look into it. Is it a fascinating movie because it does seem to be attempting to do something? Yeah, that's what makes it interesting, is that there does seem to be some attempt to just not do a lesbian vampire flick. Which, look, I have no doubt there are many just pure sex lesbian vampire flicks. I can only imagine how many straight pornos or Skinemax lesbian vampire movies exist. I'm sure a ton. This one, for what looks like on the surface to be just another one of those, has just enough going on in terms of its bizarre nature, whether through indifference or intent, hard to say, and the fact that it does seem to, if only a little bit, be attempting to recontextualize Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book, into a story that makes some kind of sense. Again, like Blackula, which I just assumed was going to be, oh, it's Dracula, but a black guy. And it wasn't. This looked like it was going to be, oh, nude women sucking on each other with quotes around it. And that's it. It wasn't. So,
no, we were surprised.
As you said, neither of us is saying, oh, this is a gem that's being slept on. No, it's not. But
it is an interesting watch. I'll give you that.
The reputation of this guy is just smut, basically, that isn't porn.
Yeah.
And that's not this. This showed up on multiple best of lists for this director. That's what I looked at. Was, okay, I looked at, I think, 4 different lists, and this one was always in the top 10. Because this guy made a lot of movies. So I went, all right, I want to avoid the worst of the worst, because the worst of the worst is either going to be straight porno, which I think some were, or boring as shit. So I was trying to avoid those two things.
I'll be honest with you, I'm almost fascinated to see what his straight porno looked like. And if we would watch it and be like, this isn't porn. This is still...
Well, hey, man, as I think I told you, even James Hong directed a couple of pornos. So apparently, this is not an uncommon thing. Newsflash, everybody. Lopan directed a couple of hardcore porn flicks. I'm not going to watch them, but they exist. So...
Well, he's not known to be a great director, so it's not that weird.
No, apparently not. And neither is this guy, apparently. But this is an interesting movie. So for people who are
Honestly,
so inclined to investigate stuff of this type, it's interesting.
It's sad that we watched another one of his movies, because I feel like it's somewhat dampened this one that we then watched another one.
No, actually, I think it improved this one.
All right.
For me, that's why I think the difference is the writers. Because I think the direction is, I mean, it sounds like even barely was his interest, and I'm even using that word loosely. I think for him, he was just cranking out movies. So the writers were left with the task of trying to add something. Yeah, and in this case, I think they added just enough to make it noteworthy.
I often come out of our little movie viewing things, and my wife's like, so how was the movie? And I try to give her a brief description, right? And I came out of watching this actually quite fascinated, right? Because I mean that scene where she says to the girl at the finale of this, I don't want to be owned by you. Right? And that moment where like I said, if she had said, I want to be owned by you. Like if she had flipped it, if she had been like, no, it's that idea of somebody who's in the dominant role, basically giving up their dominance and saying, no, I want you to be the dominant one. I want you to take over. It would have made this movie so much more fascinating. But my wife just heard, lesbian vampires, and that was it. And I think that's the problem with this movie, is that you hear vampiros lesbos, and it's like an eye roll. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, that is a difference between your wife and mine, because I told my wife about it, and she was like, "Oh well, I'm glad it wasn't nothing, because in this household it is."
This is a safe space. for filth.
Yeah.
So we're fine.
There you go.
So my wife was actually interested in whether it was a good movie or not, and did not eye roll. And I told her, it was just enough. I said, we're never going to watch it, but it was just enough.
It was just enough. You are correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of what I expected, which was...
Oh, time to whack off.
Which it's not.
You know what?
Which
Honestly,
brings us...
If the next movie had been that, I would have been impressed, at least with something.
Okay, well, in a similar vein to the Martian Manhunter comic, where you and I are going to differ a little bit here, I don't think the next movie is as empty as I think you do. So we watched 1973's... Now, this is the interesting part.
I don't think it's empty.
Let me set
I don't
it
think
up.
it's empty.
Let me set it up.
Go ahead.
Because there is an important distinction. We watched what is considered the porno version,
which
I think is
weird,
fascinating.
It was not.
Yeah, because the standard version is A Virgin Among the Living Dead, but the version we watched was titled Christina, Princess of Eroticism, which I had said in my short review is a very ironic title because, again, there is no eroticism to be had for, I would say, 99% of this movie. There is one scene that could be considered slightly erotic.
Is that,
and
is
I
that
don't
the
even
scene
know
where she's watching her sleep?
Yep, that's it. That's the only one.
Yeah, it's the only one. Yeah.
That's the only scene where I was like, oh, okay. That because I kind of like that woman. The more wild that woman got, the more I was endeared to her. Because I just felt like she was completely off the wall.
Yeah.
That's the only scene, and it's about 20 seconds long. There's really nothing to it, but it's the only part where any type of actual sexual expression exists in this entire thing. Really. The rest of it is just an assortment of weird characters doing bonkers shit. The first half of the movie, nothing is happening. And then the second half, there is an attempt to put some type of narrative to it, but it's too little too late, and it doesn't make sense. So the setup is, young woman's father dies. She comes to Venezuela, I think is where we determined it was.
Yeah.
To a castle where there are relatives, or some relatives, that she's never met, that she's going to stay with until the reading of her father's will. She gets there, hijinks ensue, and they're either ghosts or vampires or zombies or something. It's never clear.
Yeah, they're not zombies.
There's weirdos.
Not classically, yeah.
Well, they could be the undead.
Oh,
there is a woman who is named as the... Yeah.
No, they're not undead. They're ghouls. They're ghouls. That's what they are.
All right, they're ghouls.
Yeah,
sure, they're ghouls.
They don't
and
eat brains.
The one woman is listed in the credits as the Princess of Darkness. Now, I don't know if that means she's the devil or not, but she seems to be a powerful figure.
Yeah.
Sort of. Unclear. And so this woman is what I would call lightweight tortured by them. It's never that bad. She's more just freaked out by them. They're not actually torturing her for the most part.
She doesn't leave either, too. That's the other thing that's just weird.
Yeah, even though numerous characters say, hey,
get out.
You should leave.
Get out. Yeah,
you should leave. Run, get out. Even her own father's like, get the fuck out, and she doesn't. And unlike our final movie, where the character's boldness is a selling point, this character's inability to leave is inexplicable.
Well, she asks them to stay, too. At one point, she can get rid of the ghoul. Or she can sell the place and leave. And she's like, no, I want you to stay. You know, and like...
which makes no sense.
Yeah, there's a few things.
And so, again, unlike the previous film, there is no interesting story to explore because I don't know that there was a story. And they try to make it very melodramatic and ethereal at the end, which only works. And I don't. The word "works" is doing a lot of work here. It's doing a lot of effort here, because I don't think it actually works, but it does evoke the mood because the music changes. The actual filmmaking gets much better for a short time. There's some interesting kind of scene blocking where you're seeing these characters all gathered around, some who were dead.
There's one scene in this movie. For you, I know it's two, but for me, there is one scene in this movie that is genuinely good.
Oh, yeah. There's one standout scene, which is when the father recedes into the darkness. It's beautifully filmed.
It's cleverly done. It's a simple effect, and yet it's so well done. And he just...
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a follow-up where the father is going backwards through the woods. And while it's nowhere near as good as the scene with the shadows,
Yeah.
they clearly built a dolly and were filming on wheels with him going backwards so it looks right. Whereas a lot of the beginning of the movie is just people flopping around and just making weird noises. Literally, just making weird noises. And it's never boring.
Oh, the director. He doesn't speak. He just makes weird, like...
Yeah, he literally makes the same noises that Brian James makes in the movie Crime Wave. It was like, he's the same shit. I wonder if Brian James saw this movie and imitated it in Crime Wave. It wouldn't shock me. But it never gets boring because...
No, I wasn't bored.
No, because new characters keep showing up and doing weird shit and you're trying to figure out what they're doing. Yeah. The problem is by the end of the movie, you're still not clear on what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's when it has this... It has a scene that in a properly done movie where the Princess of Darkness and this young woman walk into the lily pond and disappear under the waves.
Oh, yeah.
It's imitating what would be a kind of interesting, oh, wow, I wonder what that means ending in a better made movie.
They should have glided into the water and disappeared. But instead they were like very obviously walking and it was this very unglamorous... You know, like stepping through the mud, like.
Well.
Anyway.
Yes, but two things.
Yeah.
First.
200 hours later.
Which I apologize, I have been forgetting to do that because we've usually been in the middle of a conversation. I don't notice the time. But second, I don't even mind that. That doesn't bother me.
I just thought it was funny.
They did, you know. Well, yeah, but it would in a properly done story. You wouldn't care and wouldn't notice it because it would be kind of an interesting ending. And you'd be trying to figure out, okay, well, what was all this then? You know, because there's a woman who was dead who's now back to life at that end point that's standing there. And they're all kind of walking towards the water as she's being ushered underneath. And you could sit there and go, wow, this is really interesting. Were they always dead? Was she dead and this was her passage through... You know what? Limbo into the afterlife, but none of that's present.
No, the scene where she's back in the hotel from the beginning, and she gets up, she's obviously in some kind of waking nightmare, right? And they're like, "Oh my god, they just found her, and she's been like this." I thought that she was in some kind of she had some kind of endless nightmare curse where she kept just waking up into another nightmare, and that would have been interesting too. But it's almost like the movie is afraid to ever actually say anything. Like he just kind of does a lot of shit and then never actually fulfills it.
I'm going to give you a 5-minute scene that, while I certainly am not saying this would make the movie good, I think would vastly improve this movie, right? The movie unfolds exactly as it did all the way through until the scene you're talking about where she's in the hospital or the hotel and the doctor's coming to visit her. Doctor comes in the room. Woman's there, nurse, and says, well, nurse, has there been any change in her condition? No, we're still getting very, very erratic readings from her brain. It looks like she's slipping away. That's really a shame. Does anyone come to visit her? Does she have any family? Anyone we should notify? Oh, yeah, she has family that lives right up at the castle. They're very nice people. They've been coming to visit her, but I don't know that she really understands what they're saying. And you find out that all the people we've seen, including the weird director guy, are normal people who've sat there, but because she's had some kind of traumatic injury, she's having all these nightmare visions of them because her brain is damaged. And then the ending is, that they come to give her the last rites. And the Princess of Darkness is, in fact, a priest or a nun or something that is coming to usher her to the next life. And then you see her going into the lily pond.
I mean, listen,
that's the scene. That's it.
That would have been far more than what was there.
That's one scene where you don't have to change anything around the movie otherwise. You can leave all the rest of that in. But so that's why she's seeing these people, because they've been coming to visit her. But because she's dying and her brain is failing, she's seeing them in this warped context because her brain is shutting down. And so she's seeing it as a nightmare. But then that end scene would work as a peaceful scene because there's nothing malevolent in that last shot where she's walking under the water. There's nothing malevolent about it except that we've gotten no context and they keep referring to this woman as the Princess of Darkness.
Yeah.
But if we saw something showing that she was misinterpreting the last rites that way, but it was the same scene, then it kind of becomes, oh, okay, she's passing on. And there's your movie. But I just did more work to make this movie work than the movie did. So it is a lesser film, but I think that makes Vampiros Lesbos better because that movie at least expended some fucking effort.
Yeah, I know. I made a statement, yeah.
It was trying to do something, and this movie, only by the barest of margins, would I even say anybody should watch it, and that would only be if you're a Jess Franco completionist, because at least it's not boring. Like, you will not be bored. It never stops long enough for you to be bored. It's just bouncing all over the place. So there's always something going on.
The problem with this movie overall is that it has an atmosphere. Something's going on. But the thing is, most movies spend a certain amount of time cultivating what's going on, and then you get to a point where it tips, and then there has to be it has to be dealt with, right? Something has to happen to fulfill the kind of completion of the movie, right? So we watched something after this, which did it correctly. Whereas with this movie,
in summary of these two movies,
well, he spends so much time cultivating it, and then it's such an afterthought of an ending that you never find out what the hell the point of all that atmosphere was. If anything, you know what this movie very much reminds me of? It's like a Gothic novel. So we're going to get English literature here for a little bit. You never read really any Gothic literature, right?
I don't.
Okay, so a lot of Gothic literature.
Is Bram Stoker's Dracula Gothic literature?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
If so, that's the only stuff I think I've ever read.
So Gothic literature very often was, but actually, Dracula kind of works for a minute there. So a lot of Gothic literature would basically have, oh, this is a terrible place. Oh, this is a terrible thing. Oh, this terrible person. They shouldn't come here. Why are they here? There are terrible things here happening. Oh no, terrible things have happened to them. They have been destroyed. And that's the novel. Like, there's no, the hero wins. There's no, the hero gets away. There's no, this is a terrible place. This is a terrible thing. This is a terrible whatever. And this person was destroyed by it. And like, with Dracula, it's like kind of pre-Gothic because they discover there's a creature, and then a group of men basically go after the creature, right? So it's, but the Gothic novels are far more frustrating because it's the whole, there's no hope, right? So in this movie, she shows up. It's very Gothic, and that there's this castle, and there's there's a lot of mood, and there's a lot of questionable people, and it's bad, and she should go, but she's a virgin and she's naive, so she stays, and it destroys her. There's your Gothic novel. And, I guess that's worth a watch.
Well,
but I would, I wouldn't tell anyone to see this movie.
Okay, well, this is where I was going. So, in terms of the two movies, the only person I would recommend Virgin Among the Living Dead to would be somebody who's trying to watch all of Jess Franco's movies and is really just trying to avoid the worst of them because it was not boring. It's not good, but you won't fall asleep. So that's the only type of person I would recommend it to. Period. Nobody else. Nobody else. Whereas Vampiros Lesbos, I would say that if you're looking for a movie that's a fascinating paradox, in that, on the surface, it looks like a borderline Skinamax film. Yet the nudity serves no function, and it does actually have an interesting attempt at a recontextualization of a classic story. That movie is worth seeing. It is fascinating in what it is either intentionally or accidentally trying to do narratively, while showing you a lot of skin that serves no purpose.
Nothing.
Yes. And it does have a bitchin' poster. I do love the poster because, again, it promises a movie that you will not get.
Ah, you're always lured in by a pretty face.
Well, no, it looks like, it looks like it's advertising a skin flick. And that's fascinating because it's not. Not really. Not in its core. It is a skin flick in that there is lots of nudity, but that only, again, surface level. That story is interesting to me. So that would be the summary of the two of them. I've based on these two, I think I'm done with Jess Franco's movies. I've gotten enough.
You know what? And that says a lot right there. The fact that you're done.
Well, some of it is because you told me he doesn't care. Well, if he doesn't care, then I don't care anymore.
Yeah, he hates his movies. Yeah, he hates
If
his
there was
movies,
one
and
movie he was like, you know what, I made 80 terrible movies and I poured my heart into one, I'd watch the one.
He always wanted to make like more like high class art movies, and he said he never did.
Yeah. Well, then that is beneficial for me in that it serves that it releases me from watching any more of his stuff. So the best way to sum that up is
good. Fuck him.
There, done. So we watched them, done. So now moving into Maybe It Won't Suck, which is this month's theme.
Well, you should explain, by the way, what Maybe It Won't Suck is.
So this is movies that either of us or one of us has not seen in a long time. And I was fairly sure you hadn't watched Phantasm.
I haven't seen this. I probably haven't seen this since like it first hit cable.
Perfect. And I haven't rewatched this.
Yeah, I watched one of the later ones more often.
Oh, yeah. We both know 3 forward to back. Everybody knows 3 forward to back. Most people don't even remember 2 because it was kind of a throwaway and it wasn't well received, even though it had a huge budget. But it was not a good movie necessarily. I mean, it was a nice looking movie, but I've never rewatched it. But this one I probably haven't seen in 6-7 years. It's been a little while. But I've seen it a bunch of times, so I remember most of it. I mean, so I thought, okay, let's see how this holds up for you, because this movie largely is about atmosphere. The narrative is there. There is one. Although I agree with you that, and we'll get to this, I don't like the late ending twist, if you want. Well, the first one.
Yeah,
the first twist.
The ending is the one thing that really kind of throws me off.
The ending doesn't work because there are sequels, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I can see that.
Phantasm, and it's the story is very simple to explain. There are 2 brothers living in a town who are friends with an ice cream truck guy, and their brother, well, their parents died a couple years before, so it's just the 2 of them, and I believe it's supposed to be a good friend of the older brothers dies. And
I thought that was like their other brother.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I heard
that was
them say
their
okay.
other brother.
All right. So their other brother dies, and the youngest brother sees the mortician deadlift the coffin into the back of a car and thinks that's weird. Now, the other brother had been killed when the woman he was having sex with in the cemetery became the mortician, but the other 2 didn't see that.
Yeah, so hold on. We have to stop right here, right?
Sure.
Okay. So, I enjoyed this movie. I want to get this out of the way. I enjoyed this movie. I thought this was a very well done horror movie on a budget. I like the decisions that it made. I like all of it. But there are some questions about this one sequence that we need to answer, which is that the movie starts with the victim brother, and there he is with this beautiful blonde, and she is on top of him, and she is riding him. They are having sex. He is having a great time. She is with him, right? And then she turns into the tall man, right? So the question here is, what just happened in the crotch area of these 2? Because a moment ago, there was a vagina there, and he was utilizing it. In fact, the scene does make the question, it does kind of state the fact that he is, for lack of a better way to say, he is in there when she turns into the tall man. So the question is, does he just magically get, like, teleported out? Or is he sitting there in having relations with the tall man? And if so,
believe,
does the tall man have a vagina, or does it just end up in another place? Like, I have so many questions about, like, this sudden shift. Because they're having sex, and then all of a sudden, You know, like does the transmogrification just kind of spit him out? Like, or is this super weird that, he was having sexual relations? I mean, he was, because the tall man turned into a woman and was having sexual relations with him. So people were literally fucking the tall man. I mean, yeah. It's really weird.
Okay, so I have found the official explanation.
Oh, good.
Some of it, which may explain that the answer is yes to all your questions.
No.
So, according to Phantasm.com, so the site for the movies, the Lady in Lavender, which is the name of the character, first appearance is in the original Phantasm, which immediately throws the audience into a web of mystery and horror. Her character is initially portrayed as an attractive and seductive woman clad in a lavender dress, luring Tommy, one of the friends of the main characters.
Oh,
this
so
says
not a brother. Okay.
That's where I was kind of confused too. Into a graveyard. What seems like an intimate moment quickly turns horrifying when she morphs into the tall man, the series' primary antagonist, ending Tommy's life. She is not a lady at all, but a disguise for the tall man.
Oh, man.
But the fact that they use the word morph would indicate that when she is a woman, when he is a woman, he is a woman. Otherwise, why use the term morph?
Yep.
That's how so I think that your question is, she is in fact a anatomically correct woman until the point where she changes into the tall man. That's now whether he is getting anything out of this encounter is a separate question.
He just basically gets morphed out. There's kind of a weird, like, if someone changes mid-morph, I mean, and you're like in there, like, do you just fuse with them? Like, did he become fused with the tall man? Like,
no. I'm gonna assume that she raised herself up off him, and then changed, and then stabbed him.
Okay.
Because we see her with a knife later. So.
Yep. But either way, he fucked the tall man, and to some degree, so did the main character's older brother.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the tall man gets some action in this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a weird thing in itself, isn't it? That like, it doesn't just lure them into it doesn't just lure them into a cemetery. It lures them into a cemetery and has sex with them and then stabs them. It doesn't have to have sex with them. It could just get them on the ground and be like, hey, and then stab them. But instead it's like, hey, come into the cemetery. Let's take my clothes off. Let's have sex. Oh, we've had sex. Now I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. So the tall man is having sex with random people in the cemetery, which just makes it all. I mean, it just gets weirder and weirder when you think about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a sticking point for me that I wanted to discuss because it was weird. Hey, good weird. Yeah. I like good weird. Like, but yeah.
Right. So basically, the middle of the movie is just a lot of scenes where this child, with zero fucks given about his own safety, keeps trying to find out what is going on.
This kid's balls are like brass and the size of a bus. The shit that he does in this movie, you're like, oh my God. Like, I mean, he's just ballsy as fuck. I admire it, like.
Yeah. So really much of the middle of the movie is just these interesting scenes where, the younger brother manages to cut off the tall man's fingers. One of them turns into a bug. At which point, the great part, this movie's subtitle should be "Awesome but Dumb Older Brother," because the older brother is endlessly supportive and loving of his younger brother, as a lot of older brothers in this time period of filmmaking were not. He's not so smart, but there's a point where he doesn't believe what the younger brother's telling him, and the younger brother's like, well, I've got a finger in a box that'll show you.
And he's like, well,
The older
show me
brother
then.
opens he opens the box, looks at it, closes it, and goes, yeah, okay, I believe you. Instantly, which is
that.
the proper response. It is amazing.
He's like,
It's great.
okay, yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, I believe you. I think that's literally the lines. Okay, I believe you. And then they, puts the finger, closes the box. So as it goes through, they're trying to figure out how to kill the tall man. Now, what's interesting is this movie shows you his weakness, yet the movie never exploits it until later films, which is that the tall man is vulnerable to cold. But this movie only shows that to you, but that's not actually a function of how they beat him. They trick him into falling down a mine shaft. But you get this scene where the ice cream truck, driven by their friend Reggie, he's unloading it, and you see the tall man react to the cold. He kind of leans back from it and doesn't like it, which will be a way they will stop him later in the other films, but not in this one, which is interesting because it certainly indicates that they were showing you a weakness. So was there always a plan to maybe do more with these movies? Because the biggest problem with the ending, once we get to the end, they manage to lure him to go down a mine shaft, and they dump a bunch of boulders on him. It's supposed to be a shaft that goes down 1,000 feet, and they dump a bunch of boulders in there, and they think they've stopped him, at which point the youngest brother wakes up, and then we see a scene where he's talking to Reggie, and Reggie says,
Reggie, who's supposed to be dead. Like, he's supposed to have been
Reggie, who got stabbed
killed
by the lavender woman.
Yeah.
After she turned into the tall man again, which apparently was all added way after the fact. The director decided to just add that in to make it more fucked up. That was never originally in there. And the guy who played the tall man said, yeah, I had no idea. He just took a shot at me and then put it in there. I was as surprised as anybody. So apparently that was never the original thing, was that woman was him. So that was all added. This whole thing came about. The director had a dream about being trapped in a mausoleum, and there was an orb that was chasing him. That's the whole genesis of the movie, which is very clear because that's the feeling of the movie. Because the spheres are what people know from the movie, but they really, only one ever appears briefly. Yeah. It's awesome, but it's brief. Later, the spheres become much more prevalent. There's more than one. They're all over the place. So we get to the end, and now Reggie's alive, but Jody is dead. The older brother is dead.
Yeah.
And Reggie's telling Tommy, well, your brother died in a car accident. Why don't we take a road trip and go drive somewhere, man, and get away from all this? Which makes you think, it was all just a dream, right? It was all just this terrible thing happened, and this has all been a dream, because we do see multiple points. The younger brother wakes up somewhere. Like, something has happened, he suddenly wakes up. There's one where he wakes up and there's these monsters grabbing him. There's one where he wakes up and something has happened. There's all this shit that happens.
Yeah.
So you think, okay, it's just all a dream, right? But then, as he's packing in his room, he closes his closet door, the tall man is reflected in it, and then he bursts through the mirror and pulls him through it, and the movie ends.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is a victim of the stinger ending, which is well known for that time period.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, the stinger ending, ha ha ha. But honestly, I enjoy this movie, but up into that moment where it suddenly does the dream switch, I didn't feel like the dream switch was warranted. It's not like there was a lot of dream stuff in there where they were like, is it real, is it not? So when they just switch it on you, and then suddenly, like, Reggie's there with him by the fire, and they're like, oh, your brother died. Like, if there had been allusions to this throughout the movie, I just feel like this was like it just feels like a late surprise, Yeah. So, it's weak. The ending is weak to me. I like the rest of it, but the ending is weak for me, personally. But you know what? But listen, way better than the other movie we watched. Way better.
Well, here is where I agree, because there are sequels, that the ending is a problem. If this movie only existed as itself, and there were no sequels, because you throw the second movie away. The second movie, nothing really actually happens. The third movie and the fourth movie are where they're trying to actually build a world. There is actually a lot of story added, and they start explaining things. For example, the spheres are actually what are inside of each of the little dwarf guys that are reanimating these dead bodies. And he's some kind of interdimensional being who was once a real mortician and became obsessed with death and is obsessed with the younger brother to be his successor or something. That's kind of what they're going for in the later films. But none of that exists here. So if we took this movie by itself, and a lot of people just stop after this movie, and I actually kind of think I'm at that point too, where I really don't need the other movies anymore, and I haven't watched them in a long time. I don't think I'm ever going to watch them.
I kind of skipped the second one mostly. Like, I think I saw it once.
Everybody does.
But
because there's nothing to it.
I actually like the third one. Oh, sorry. There's a vibe. There's a vibe about the third one that's very neat. The way going to the
I remember liking it.
The shotgun and yeah.
Yeah, except that it ruins what makes the first movie work otherwise, or this problem exists. So if you don't have sequels, then what a lot of people read into this, and I think this is an interesting interpretation, is there's generally two schools of thought on if you apply, because even the director has said, look, this is not supposed to be a tight story. This is a dream I had, and I made a movie taking those ideas. This is very similar to the David Lynch thing, where he's like, I'm not going to explain it. You don't get it, and that's fine. You do, it's whatever you think it is, which for some people is a problem. That's why not everybody's a David Lynch fan. Perfectly fine. But the two schools of thought, if you only take this movie on its own, are one, that in fact, Jody did die, and all of this is his inability to deal with the grief of losing his parents and then his brother recently. And so he is conjuring this nightmare guy to try to figure out how to make sense of it, because otherwise he just keeps losing people. And a young child will make up a lot of things to try to figure out why bad things are happening. So none of this is real. Even the ending is not real. It's just him reconjuring this creature. That's the one side, which there's nothing in the movie that says otherwise. I don't know. Because otherwise, why does Reggie come back from the dead? We don't know. He's just there. Or the other one, which is somewhat supported by later films, but not totally, is that those gates, the tuning fork things in the room, allow the tall man to travel to different dimensions and different times. And so another version of the tall man came back, killed Jody, and then took Mike. And there's nothing in the later movies that doesn't allow that explanation.
Why would there be multiple versions of the tall man, though?
Because it's a what do you call it? It's a different time version of him. So it's like I don't know. It's all horseshit once you get time and dimensions involved.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why I try not to mess with time, because once you get
and why does he change it to a woman and then kill men as opposed to just killing them?
Yeah, well, why is he having sex with them? I mean, that's
why is he compressing bodies and throwing them through the gate into another planet? I
mean, is this a movie? Is this a movie about not being true to yourself and accepting your sexuality? Is the tall man really just want to be a woman?
Yeah.
But because he
there's
can't
a note
be
here.
A woman,
Sequels suggest the tall man inhabits thousands of identical bodies and can take on a new one after being killed. So he's like Kovac. He's a very tall, skinny Kovac. See, and that's what I mean about, at this point, I like the idea of just the one existing by itself.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, is if it's one movie, then yeah, you don't really have a problem with it because it's one and done, and it leaves the mystery up to you, whereas, the other ones, yes.
Exactly. So this is the problem where the sequel starts to try to add actual story elements.
And well, I mean, this is the problem that we had with a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, and Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, where they always felt the need to have this stinger ending that ruined the whole movie.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, if you just let it lie, it makes it works out better.
Yeah.
They just can't, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. So, I don't disagree.
I don't like the dream ending. I'll just put it like that. I don't like it. I'm sure that there's logic for it, this way, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
I think it is very difficult to look at without sneering a bit with the sequels. which is why at this point I just kind of don't watch the sequels, because then I don't think too hard about this movie. Whereas if you go into the sequels, you're sitting there going, well, then why the hell, what?
Yeah.
Why is Reggie what? It makes a lot less sense.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong. Again, this is the problem when you're making a movie as a solitary thing and you don't know if you're going to do more.
Yeah.
And even if you have plans for more, if you don't allow for that and you want to go for a memorable ending, the problem is you can't then just reverse it later and have people not watch this and go, well then why did that happen? So
Yeah.
if you've never seen any of these movies, my recommendation would be, when you watch this one, I would say this movie, quality-wise, is better than anything that comes after. As a total movie, I think because the director was kind of channeling this dream idea into this thing. It was run and gun. They were putting a lot of effort into it as a single film. I think it is far better than anything that comes after it. Now, are some of the sequels fun? I've watched them all.
It doesn't look shitty either. I mean, like for being a first time kind of like low budget, I don't think it looks shitty. He knew where to put his money. He knew what kind of shots to use. And honestly, the orb thing, it's only kind of in the middle of the movie there, but it's used very well. I mean, yeah.
So I'm going to read this. There's somebody who posted this particular paragraph.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the perfect summation of the general attitude towards this movie. Quote, I'm a big fan of the series, but it definitely isn't for everyone and is hard to recommend. If you're not put off by the first one, I definitely recommend at least trying the second one out. Weed and or alcohol definitely help the series make sense. End quote. And I think that's a fair assessment. That's, yeah. It is hard to keep going with that ending after the first one. It is a well-made movie that attempts to do a double stinger ending. It's really what it's doing. It's trying to do two twists on you.
Yeah.
Really close together. And that's only okay if there's no more movies. Because then you really have to kind of go, okay, well, I have to figure out what this meant. But then when the rest of the movie starts setting up a world, you're like, well, then this doesn't make any sense anymore. So, a weird movie to recommend or not. But the main point of watching it was to see if it still worked for you. And you said you had a good time with it. So,
I enjoyed it. I mean, the end. Listen, and I think the thing is also, I'm so used to ignoring stinger endings because having grown up in the 80s and the early 90s like that, they happen so often, and they're so often just like bullshit. Do you know what I mean? Like they're these unnecessary cliffhanger. Actually, what I kind of like about these stinger endings in one way is that stinger endings are built in such a way where, for your viewer enjoyment, right? You know where they are, and you know you can shut them off. So, like, we watched was it Nightmare on Elm Street 2, right? That's the one that we watched, right? That movie is actually pretty good, and if you just shut it off before that stinger ending, it is a complete story, right? It's just that the franchise needed a stinger to be like, oh, the nightmare really does never end, right? It negates the movie. Yeah. But you can just not watch it. And with this movie, is if you just shut it off when he goes up to his room, or honestly, if you shut it off when the reflection, I don't mind, if you're going to have the dream sequence, shut it off with the reflection of the guy in the mirror. I think if you shut it off there and get rid of that stupid mirror scene, it kind of works. But the thing is, I'm so used to ignoring these stinger endings because they were so stupid in the 80s that, like, it's like I can just watch these movies and just be like, that's unnecessary. You just put it there because you worried that you wouldn't be able to bring certain people in for other movies, except that it is the first one, too. And he didn't intend there to be sequels, right?
Well, it doesn't sound like they were sure they'd ever get to make them. So he had this idea, which became the later movies, that they would do.
Yeah.
But they weren't sure they were ever going to be able to do it because they had a hard time getting this one made. So actually, my recommendation is this. If you intend Okay, here it is. If you intend to watch all the movies and understand, if you've never seen these, that none of the follow-up movies are anywhere near as atmospherically dreamy as this one is. When they go on, they become more traditional horror films. You would agree with that, right? 3 is nothing like
Yeah,
this
because
one.
honestly, this one felt far less kind of like horror movie-ish than the last one, or the third one.
Okay, so understand that this is the dreamiest atmospheric of all of them. So if you watch this and you really connect with that and think that it makes it interesting and different than what I would call more traditional horror movies, then my recommendation is that you turn it off after Reggie says, go get packed and we'll hit the road. Just cut it off when Reggie's playing the guitar and consider that the ending, right? And then it makes it that it was grief and he was trying to figure it out. And luckily he has a supportive figure that's still there. And you have a nice movie that's wrapped up.
Yeah.
Done. If you intend to keep going, then watch it all the way and understand that maybe none of this actually makes any sense in this movie because there's no explaining it. There just isn't. So that's how I would say it.
But you
which
know
is
what?
a weird recommendation.
Are you not entertained?
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm saying I don't think any part of this is bad until you get to the very end and you have to make a decision on whether you're going to continue or not. So to your point about know when to shut it off, if you're going to continue, watch it all the way through. But if you feel like this is something different and interesting and you're sort of bored of a lot of traditional horror movies, then I would shut it off when Reggie says, why don't we go driving for a while, go get your stuff, and he starts playing the guitar, just shut it off right there.
Let's get the fuck out.
Just consider that the end. Yep. And you're done. You've got a nice, interesting, entertaining movie which has a single stinger that makes sense with what came before. That's how I would say it. Is it a great movie? Yeah. I watch it all the way through, and I've seen the sequels, and I don't care. But
I mean, honestly, that kid is just so ballsy.
There's lots about it.
The shit
that
he knows that he needs to do. It's great.
Yeah. No, it's I like it a lot. Phantasm, the first one, I own as a 4K. I don't own any of the other ones. And I have no interest in owning the other ones. Because I really don't ever care about seeing them again. I've seen them. I reviewed, I think, the 4th one or 5th one, I think, on the show. And I said, yeah, okay. It's all right. But for me, the first one is really where the magic is. And so that's the only one I watch. But again, I agree with your thing of, okay, there's just points where you turn the movie off and it works much better. Absolutely correct. In this one, the deciding point on turning it off is whether you're going to continue or not, because as they go on, they start trying to build a story. And that story is not all that congruous? I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that. The story they build does not fit neatly into what the first movie shows you. So, also, you may not care. Some people are going to be like, I don't care if it makes sense. All right, good. Then you're good. You're going to have a great time. Seriously, it's fine. Because it doesn't bother me. I know the sequels exist. I don't give a fuck. But if you are interested in what they do with the world afterwards, then I would shut it off after the brother's dead. Because Jody does stay dead. And he will be a character that comes back as a dead person in the third one.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like such a weird shift.
It absolutely is, because they kept going.
Yeah.
If they left it there, then it becomes one of those movies that says, all right, you have to now evaluate what you've seen and how this makes sense. And that's interesting and fun for a lot of people. I think a lot of people that they actually enjoy that part of it. But it starts to fall apart once you hit the sequels. So it's sort of a mixed bag. I agree with you. I think it doesn't work with your awareness of the sequels. That ending feels like you got 2 twists and you really only should have gotten 1. Which one is it supposed to be? And to me, they should have had it where Jody died fighting the tall man. Then all this goes away. It all goes away.
Yeah, or he fell into the hole with him.
Yes.
I thought what was going to happen was that he was, because I couldn't remember the ending, I thought he was going to basically tackle the tall man into the hole and they were both going down.
And that makes sense because you know he's dead in the third one. So
Yeah.
you would think he's going to die as opposed to Reggie getting stabbed. See, it doesn't make sense with what comes later. What makes sense is Jody getting stabbed and Reggie helping him kill him.
Yeah.
So when Jody goes down, Reggie says, come on, we got to get him to the mine. And he lures him there. And then all this goes away. But still, as you said, far and away better than anything the Jess Franco movie served up.
The best movie that we saw of the three.
Of the three, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
and we're I would say worth seeing. It is a low budget kind of Evil Dead-ish type of production where it was a lot of just, okay, how are we going to make this work?
No, but
they did a
you,
lot.
But you enjoy it as well. I mean, because it does do some fun, weird shit. And I mean, listen, the question of why the hell the tall man is fucking men in the
sure,
it's just so fucking weird. I love it.
Yeah.
So
it has a very specific personality, and it works that way. So take it for what it is, and as long as you can do that, you'll probably have a good time. So yeah, of the three movies, Phantasm's the easy recommendation. Oh yeah, watch Phantasm, no doubt about it. Virgin Among the Living Dead.
No.
You've already heard my qualifications. Only specific types of people should be watching that, and it's a very small number.
If you're feeling patient and you want to see something weird and different, I think you can try out Vampiros Lesbos.
Yes, that's an easier one to recommend as a movie that is a bit of a paradox. I like that word for it.
But you need
it's
patience.
A strange thing.
You need some patience with that movie.
Yeah, I mean, and we didn't even get into the fact that it's a lot of sitar music and like wacky-dacky, hippy-dippy stuff. It's got a lot of weird, goddamn 70s feel.
A lot of weird close-ups, which get funny. In fact, he likes his weird close-ups in general.
He loves blurry fingers right near the camera. Loves them.
Well, there's that as well.
Gonna be a lot of that. Yep. So, yeah. So one of the movies for almost nobody.
I don't need to see any more of his films. I don't know if that's a review in itself, but yeah, now that I've seen these two, I don't need to see any more of his films.
There was the one other movie I watched of his that I thought was fascinating just because it had so many surprising elements, which is the one where the woman comes out of the grandfather clock. That was an interesting movie, which felt very similar to the Vampiros Lesbos one.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the hell it was called. I reviewed it a while ago. That one was interesting. I found that. Oh no, maybe that might have been Jean Rollin, the other guy who's kind of the French equivalent. That's why I thought this guy was French. That's right. It's Jean Rollin is the guy's name. Yeah. So I was mixing. That's why I thought these people were the same guy. They're not. That movie was... No, it's not Planet of the Vampires. It was called... No, it wasn't that one. Just in case anybody's curious. Oh, I can't find it now. God damn it. Oh, wait. The Shiver of the Vampires. That's the one where the woman comes out of the clock. Maybe we'll watch a couple of his movies at some point. Jean Rollin, who is, I believe, French. Let me verify. France. Yes, that's why I was mixing these two up, because they make similar types of movies. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well,
got it. That's why I was mixing them up. So yes, in the case of this, yeah, Vampiros Lesbos is an interesting film for the right viewer. Phantasm's the easy recommendation, and almost nobody should be watching A Virgin Among the Living Dead. So, Martian Manhunter, absolute. Hey, you might like it a lot. Split opinion on that one. Beautiful visuals.
I like it a lot.
Beautiful.
And you know what? Shade the Changing Man. I mean, that's like if this podcast was a classroom and we had like a curriculum reading, Shade the Changing Man would be on that list.
Of everything we've talked tonight, the two things I would recommend to everybody would be Shade and Phantasm. That's the easy one.
Shade and Phantasm. There you go. There's the title.
And as a late reminder, if you don't like this age verification bullshit, let these companies know. May not do anything, but make your voice heard. People get way too comfortable thinking, not comfortable, they get locked in this idea that nobody can ever affect anything, and I don't believe that's true. I think if people express their their disdain for things and then back it up with actual action, which may lead to a little bit of inconvenience, but guess what? Decide what's valuable to you. I fucking hate the fact that I have to MFA everything I log into, but because I don't want my password to be compromised, as much as I grit my teeth, I'm like, nope, it's worth it. It's called security. It sucks. But tell these companies, fuck you, man. I'm not going to stop using your shit. And then if they do it, if you don't feel comfortable with that, guess what? Stop using it.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you something else. There's always an alternative.
Or there will be. Or there will be.
Alternative. Yeah, there will be. So do not get locked into an idea of complacency. You do not just have to go along with this shit. You do not. So use the power you have, because if you don't, one day you won't have any. On that note, everybody, whatever you do, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.